Hello, YouTube and the internet. It is Ryno here today, and I thought that it would be fun on this Friday Eve. It is Friday, March 10th. We're going live here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I thought it would be fun because this Sunday, March 12th, we are going to have the 2023 Oscars, the Academy Award ceremony is going to be on, and I thought it would be fun to just kind of go through the list and talk about the movies, because I've been trying to watch all the movies, or as much of them as I can get. Realistically, I never am able to watch all of them, so that's just where we're at. But I called in a very special friend to do this with me. It's my friend Alyssa, who is from New York, but she knows so much about movies. She's probably the person who knows, like, in my life, knows more about movies than I do. So hello, Alyssa, and thank you for joining me.
How are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm good. How's the weather up there?
The weather is cold. It's freezing. And I'm also hearing you twice.
Oh, no.
Which is very odd. I feel like I'm getting a double Ryno, and now I'm getting myself.
I can only hear the one me. So if people in chat hear me twice, let me know, because this does happen when I do stuff for work. So I do apologize that you're getting a double me, and I hope it doesn't mess you up too much. It didn't sound like that before we started, though, did it?
It did not sound like that at all.
Oh, my goodness. See, I'm trying to learn
everything everywhere all at once. I have like 58 voices in my head right now.
Okay, now I need you to take a paper and slice between your fingers. Every time I watch that part. Okay, so they don't hear the echo in the chat or anything, so I feel bad. I don't actually know how Craig eliminates this part of it. I think it has to do with, like, monitoring sound. So we're always learning here. We're always learning. And yeah, I don't know. I'll shoot him a text and maybe I can figure it out before the end of the show, or hopefully it corrects itself. But Alyssa, okay, we were just talking before the show, and obviously we've talked before this. And are you having an adult beverage tonight, or are you just chit-chatting? Do you got a water? What do you got? What are you having?
A little bit of wine. I have a little. You know me. I feel like every time I see you,
know you so well. Yeah.
Glass of red wine.
Well, sometimes you make those like little spritz like things that you do with the wine, which I like. Yeah.
I ran out of gin, which is my favorite.
I just got a new bottle of gin. Actually, somebody brought me a Corgi gin from New Jersey. My friend Diane and Bill live up there, and there's like a Pembroke Welsh gin that's like a little Corgi on the bottle. It's so good. You'll have to try it.
I was literally going to buy you that for Christmas. I'm not
Oh my God. Okay.
I saw that same gin, and I was like, this is perfect.
The next time you're in Florida, you have to try it because it's so good. So my drink today is this beer I got when I was home in Massachusetts. It's called Some, but it's a gingerbread whoopie pie stout. I hope it's not terrible. I saw it. It was the only can at this liquor store in Wareham, this Packy in Wareham, and so I had to have it. And I forgot I had it. This is the first try. I haven't had it, so this is a big moment here today. So I'm going with the beer. It's funny that you brought up gin, because I was literally going to make myself I'm thinking, do you know what you're going to have to drink for the Oscars? What are you doing for that? Because I know you get like dressed up and everything.
I get all dressed up. I like drunk text you the entire
Yes, and I love it. I'm here for it.
The entire show. Usually champagne. I go full classy champagne, elderflower. The elderflower liqueur.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
It's a nice classy night.
So it started overflowing. Sorry. It's just there was foam in my mouth right there, so I can't tell you yet. But I'm thinking my drink this year, I think, because I was thinking about you when I was thinking of it, I think I'm going to do like a French 75, which is like gin champagne. Yes. So it's like gin and champagne, or gin. Yeah. So I was thinking like that would be a fun thing to do, because for those of you who don't know Alyssa, Alyssa and I did a movie chat during our like lockdown portion of quarantine, and that was a lot of fun and really kept me going, honestly. And but it was we learned during that time, during those Oscars. Remember when they did it in the train station in was that 2021?
Yes.
Where they were like in the LA, like in the they tried to make it look nicer than it was. But yeah, it's that Alyssa goes all out. She dresses up. She does the fancy. She does the whole thing.
I feel like, why else would you watch it? Like, you're only watching it so you get dressed up. If everyone else is dressed up, I am too. Like, every time.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I honestly, like, I'm very serious when it's on. I'm always like, I'm with you with the texting. I remember last year we had the delay because I was like, my TV's cutting out weird. And then that was like when Will Smith was walking toward the stage. And I was like, I can't hear what Chris Rock is saying anymore.
I was like, what are you talking about?
What? And you were like, what?
I'm pretty sure, you were like 5 seconds ahead of me. And I was like, what are you talking about? That was a eventful moment, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. So,
but also it was kind of an unmemorable year because when I think of like Coda, not really, it's not a movie I think about. That's not a movie I really like that much.
I appreciate that it was nominated, like, for what it was in terms of being able to tell this like story with like, we don't get a lot of movies with a lot of deaf characters in it, and I thought that was cool. But I do agree with you in terms of it being like, it felt very basic in that way. Yeah, and I don't even mean it. I don't mean it in like a negative way. But I agree with you in terms of like cultural impact. Right?
Exactly.
So before we dive into the new thing, sorry, I keep hitting a box over here, so I have to move it. I was talking about, I don't think I sent it to you, but I was talking with like Kim or Craig or something, and I was saying like, I feel like we're at the point now, the Oscars are almost 100 years old, right? Like we're nearing the 90, we're over 90 years, I think.
Is it 90, something like that?
Yeah, and I was thinking that it would be cool if there could be retroactive Oscars for movies that really hit in a pop culture, like stayed within the pop culture zeitgeist. Like, did Jurassic Park get as many Oscars as it deserved? No, I don't think it did, because like we look back and I watched Jurassic Park and I honestly think structurally Jurassic Park is like a perfect movie, I think, in many aspects a bit. The story it's telling in terms of like found family, what kids, all the story it's telling, like the older it gets, just the better it gets. And I feel like that's one of those things where I feel like we should look back at some movies that kind of fall by the wayside in terms of that and be like, they really hung around. And like, I don't know, it's crazy. I guess I also watched The Fabelmans, and then I watched that documentary again about Steven Spielberg, and I was like, how does Steven Spielberg only have like 3 Oscars?
No, I think you're so right, because when you look at, it's so funny because I just did this I teach film also to high school students, to seniors, and I made them pick movies from the AFI list, and they were like, why is there something new? There's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need the time to figure out if that movie has an actual impact or not. And I feel like you need a solid 15 years before you can actually make that decision. So to me, I think let's make it retroactive. Why is Jurassic Park not on the AFI list? I always thought that was
mind-blowing because no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I feel like one of the first times during the pandemic when we were talking, we both agreed like that's the movie that changed it for us. Like, I saw that when I was in middle school and it changed everything for me. I saw it 3 times in the movie theater. It made me love movies. That's like one of the touchstones in my life was that movie.
Yeah, well, it's very much too like, it's insane to me how well the special effects like kind of seamlessly still hold up. Like the T-Rex walking out of the paddock, where it's not the robot yet, the animatronic yet, but it's like it still looks good. And that's something, I mean, I feel like it also needs to be awarded that in terms of it's like, and I think it was nominated for Best Special Effects, but it needs like a retroactive for being like, we didn't realize quite what the game changer it was, that sort of a thing. Like, also that was, I agree with you 100%. Like, I remember seeing it and being like, dinosaurs are real. Like, I saw a dinosaur. And I know people have felt like that in the past with movies, like, way back, when they were doing the claymation or the I forget
stop
the other
motion.
Stop motion and stuff like that. But like those things for me, I don't know. It's one of those movies where it's just.
It also has emotional. Do you think because of our age? Like
No, I don't think so. I literally think like you could watch that. You could show that. That's why I think it deserves some sort of praise because, not to make this the Jurassic Park podcast, but I think
we always talk about this.
It's just one of those movies where I think it's a great movie to talk about because it does have a lot of those, when you pinpoint, like you just said, a movie that makes you love movies, it just has so much magic to it. It's got such a memorable score. The acting in it is so good. The scary, the editing, the special effects, everything in that movie is so good. It's all working in this like same direction. And it just, it's like, it's so tangible. You know what I mean? Like, and
the actors, like the characters feel so real in that movie. And I remember being a kid and just loving all of them and not feeling that way about a lot of movies where I just attached to all of the kids and didn't like the brother, but it all felt like people I actually knew. They felt like real people.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. Like I could show that movie to somebody today. That movie is now 30 years old this year. Right.
I don't know.
And that's the part where, like, I think my, like, nephew could watch it and still be like, not even think of it as an old movie. Could watch it and be like, wow, this movie's really good. And I think that's a testament of time. It's gone through a whole, I don't know how long a generation is, but I feel like that's 2 generations? Is it like 10 years, 12 years? I don't remember the definition of a generation.
I would say that's, maybe 10. That's too technical for me. I don't know. But
okay,
yeah,
update.
I think we need to go back. Yeah, I know.
It doesn't really taste like gingerbread. I feel like,
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed out, but
that's
the
why
chat isn't
true right here.
I know. I had a beer earlier, and that's why I was like, I'll stick with the beer because I'm trying to be like slim down on my like whatever. The chat seems awfully quiet. Can we get the chat to make some noise here? Because sometimes I'm nervous that the stream isn't going through, and I'm always like, hey. I mean, I think it is, but so I'd like to know from the chat if there are movies like that. How Alyssa and I just talked about Jurassic Park. What movies do that for anybody that's watching this? Like, what's that magic movie for you where you're like, that's the movie theater movie. That's the movie that makes me go to the movie theater. Chrissy has said, hey, so thank you, Chrissy. So I know the chat is still moving. I'm sorry, but yeah. So Alyssa and I both actually, without I think kind of even knowing it, we use the same like Ballot printout, which is from Vanity Fair. So we have a Vanity Fair puts out like a printable Oscar ballot every year, which is fun because it has the little check marks, and then in the bottom corner of it, usually you can like add it all up or something like. I don't know if this one has the add up. I do add ups because I like to do my mom has bestowed in me that sort of party host where you have to be like, hey, you won or you didn't win. Everything's a competition, right? It's 2023. It's fine. I know movies better than you. What?
I do the one. So I always do what I want to win. That's like a separate thing, right? But then I'll do the top 1 and 2. And so the 1 will get 2 points. And then at the 1, I'll do 1 point. So this way it's like between 2 different people or 2 different movies. This way you could get more points. And see, I didn't know you did the points and added it up because I always need to win. Like that's
I'll do like best picture gets more like so best picture, best actor, best actor. So best picture gets the most points. That's like a 5-point category. And then like best actor, actress, and I think supporting I do is like 3 points, and then the rest are like 1 points. Yeah. So I try to like do a sliding scale so you still have a chance to win.
Very fun.
But yeah.
Yeah, I even did this with my students today. I had them literally fill out the ballot, and then they're going to win. Whoever wins gets candy on Monday.
Okay, so I'm going to throw the ballot on the screen here the best I can so people can see it here. Alyssa and I talked, I think what we're going to do is like work on the best picture category and then continue the conversation further after that. So there are, what is there? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is there 10 this year?
10.
Yeah. Remember that one year?
10 from now on.
Yeah, but remember it was supposed to be 10 and then like it was what year it was and they were like, oh, we only came up with 9 and you were like, what the hell? Like, I think that was the Dark Knight year where they like had the year.
It was because people got so pissed off, right?
Yeah. Did you see that Steven Spielberg said in an interview where he was like, we dropped the ball, the Dark Knight should have been nominated for Best Picture? And I was like, good for you, Steven Spielberg. Good for you.
It absolutely should have. That is, but also, and I think we were kind of talking about this before, the Batman, like, probably should have been nominated also.
I'm sorry. I think it is nominated for like an Oscar, maybe one.
It is. It's like visual, it's makeup.
Yeah, makeup, I think, right?
It didn't get cinematography, which is that I feel
mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. Like, yeah, insane.
And I don't think the cinematography category is that good. Like, when I look at this ballot, I'm like, eh.
I thought score for sure. I thought the score in this movie was phenomenal. Michael Giacchino, like, knocked it out of the park. But also, I remember sitting in the theater for this movie and being like blown, like the credits started and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I was like, The Dark Knight is borderline. I also think in that terms of like, The Dark Knight would be another movie like Jurassic Park where I was like, that movie is,
yes.
You watch that movie and it is like on the fringe of being like, that is an example of cinema. Like that is a movie. You go to the movie, like, but also like it's a movie through and through. Like that is a good movie. And, when the Batman was over, I was like, is this better than that? And I'm like, not better, but I like different, but I still was like, this is just as good as that. Like, it's so good. If you have not seen The Batman and you're not a big Batman fan, I'm sorry. Robert Pattinson, right when the credits ended, I was like, I can't believe Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman.
He is the best. And I did tell you what happened to me at the movie theater, right? When I saw this.
Oh, I still think about it to this day because I think like the movie theater next to me is like that. People throwing popcorn at you, talking, whatever.
People throwing popcorn. No one, but like, it was the worst experience. So I only saw the Batman at my house. I saw the first 20 minutes. I got the sound. I got that everything. And then Nirvana came on and then they came in.
But you bought like everything. You bought like a big TV to watch it on, right? Like,
yeah, I did.
I was like,
I got super angry and just bought an 82-inch.
I'm rage buying an 80-inch TV.
That'll show them.
That'll show those idiot teenagers and that
and then the next
stupid
movie I
manager.
went to was Women Talking.
Oh, God, you saw that in the theater?
I did.
Okay, Chrissy in the chat has brought up, I love Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Girl, do not even get me started. That should be in the Best Picture category 100%. If Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture, easily Wakanda Forever should have been nominated for Best Picture, I think. I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it. I'm going to pull it up here. Okay, so of these 10, how many have you seen?
I have seen all of them except for Avatar.
Jeez. I have seen 1, 2, 3, 4. I have seen half, but by Sunday, I will have seen 5, 6, 7,
I just want to,
8.
If I'm delaying, it's only because I can't see you speaking. I can't see your mouth move, which is what I was like basing my awareness of what was going on.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Am I okay?
Yeah, no. You're coming through like right on target for me. So
okay,
I don't feel like you have too bad of a delay, but yeah, so I've seen 5 as of right now in the Best Picture category, but I will be watching. So what I've seen, since I've seen less, I'll just say it. I've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Top Gun, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. And then this evening before I go to bed, I'm going to watch The Banshees of Inisherin. I have tickets for Avatar for tomorrow. I own Elvis, which I'm going to watch tomorrow night. And then I don't think I have a way to watch Tar or I can probably try and squeeze All Quiet on the Western Front in there. So
do you have Paramount Plus?
Yeah, I do.
Tar is on either Peacock or Paramount Plus.
Okay. Then I'll watch that.
Yeah.
So I think it's still within grasp to get there. So I think you can
get there.
And
I'm going to keep texting you tomorrow. Like, would you?
No, you have to. Like, I don't even think you're annoying because I like legit. I sometimes need that. Oh my God! Like, I need that.
No,
snap me out of the ADD. Like, yeah.
I will do the push because.
And then Serial Mom next week.
Favorite movies.
Serial Mom next week.
Wait, where did that come from?
So Trey, my friend Trey, always talks about Serial Mom for like the last 5 years I've known him. And the other day I got home and I still haven't seen it, and it was in my doorstep. He bought me the movie, and so I said I'll watch it after the Oscar week. So I said I'm going to watch it next week.
By the way, have you seen Drive yet?
This movie right here.
That little movie that's been waiting for you.
I'll put it right here next to. Okay, this is my next week's movies right here. We're all lined up. This is what we should do: is have a movie. We should do these chats more, so we can do like movie.
Yes.
Like hold each other accountable to being like, did you watch your movies this week? Yeah.
I don't know if I need to be held accountable because I saw 657 movies last year, but
yeah. Well, really, you have to be holding me accountable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be my sponsor.
I have to be tamed down, and I have to tell you what to do.
Yeah. No, I have. What else do I have up here that I haven't watched yet? No, it's just Elvis, I guess. Because sometimes I'll buy a movie if it's like a movie where like Elvis I bought because it was $8, and I was like, I love Moulin Rouge is like my favorite movie, so I was like, well,
we agree on this.
Yeah, and so I was like, $8. I'll probably at least like it a little bit, and then it was nominated for all those awards, and I was like, I'll probably like it. So
yeah.
Okay, so of these, let's talk about. Let me pull the list up.
Yeah, I want to hear. I think I know what your favorite is, but I don't know kind of the order you put everything else in. I know Everything Everywhere is your favorite.
Yes, Everything Everywhere All at Once, no matter what I watch, it will be my front runner for like my favorite movie to be in. So Trey, famously, who's in this chat right now, he has struggled to watch this. He has said he tried to take an edible and watch it, and I said, I don't think that was a good idea. But I think I'd like to hear your thoughts on the movie, because you and I were talking right before this, and you were like, I don't think I like it as much as you.
I know I definitely don't like it as much as you, although I did really like it. And I feel like I don't want it to sound like I didn't like it. When I saw it the first time, I was really excited. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't a movie I thought would be nominated for awards necessarily. I thought this is a fun. Yeah. You didn't think. I thought it was like a fun movie, and I thought, because all right, this is where I'm a snob. You know I'm a snob. Like, I'm
Kermit the Frog, sipping his tea right now.
It is. It's a movie that is not as deep as I want it to be. Like, it's not. Are you
freaking kidding me? Not as deep. I remember. Okay. All right. So here's okay. So I do have a theory. I do have like this thing. So I'll tell you, when I came out of Everything Everywhere All at Once, I saw it like pretty close to like, I think I saw it like opening weekend, whatever that was in terms of when it opened in Orlando, because I had seen this preview. And I was like, I want to watch this movie when it comes out. I love Michelle Yeoh.
Me too. I love her.
I think she's a phenomenal actress. I love her. She's on Star Trek Discovery for a couple of seasons, and I think she's just like so good. And they're going to give her own Star Trek show. They said they were, but I haven't heard any movement on it, so I don't know. But that, and then what did she do where she all of a sudden became like in the forefront again? It wasn't this movie. It was something else.
It was Crazy Rich Asians, right?
That's right. It was Crazy Rich Asians. She was in. It was like a slew of movies. She was all of a sudden popping up in, and you're like, oh yeah, we love Michelle Yeoh, you know.
Yep.
Obviously she was in Shang-Chi, and I think for me, this was just the right movie at just the right time. Like I think you have to be in like the right emotional state to kind of like have it, because I was like emotionally devastated watching this movie. Like I was like, I think I am the mother and I'm also the daughter, though. We're like, also the daughter I didn't realize was from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel until I just realized this like yesterday. Show. Oh, it's very good. The last season was only okay, but the show, like, it's as good as everybody says it is. It's a quick watch too.
Great in the movie.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
I thought Stephanie Hsu, and that's the thing. There were like a lot of things that I loved about the movie. Like I loved Stephanie Hsu. I thought Ke Huy Quan was amazing.
Yeah. Oh my
like,
God.
All of that, amazing. But you know what's really interesting, and I heard something where someone was reviewing this movie, and I was like, this is the reason that I don't connect to it as much. It's like you're on your phone and you're going through everything, and you're going like from scene to scene to scene to scene. And I don't like being on my phone. And when I read that review, I was like, this explains so much. I like films that...
You like films that take their time.
I like films that take their time, and I like films that are really messed up. Like, I like dark
film.
You do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And there were other movies on this list that give me exactly like what I was looking for.
I think ultimately, like, what I love about Everything Everywhere All at Once is how it like sort of sneaks up on you, where it is this like it relies on you as an audience member, I think, to have a brain, like to have a train of thought, right? Like it doesn't treat you like an idiot. It's not pandering to you.
Not at all.
And it's trying to be like, okay, this is a high concept thing, the multiverse, but we know that you've seen superhero movies and we know that you understand the main fundamentals of what a multiverse can be, right? Yeah. And so like I enjoy that aspect of it. You're not kidding, I never know how to say Kay's full name. Indiana Jones.
Ke Huy Quan.
Ke Huy Quan. Yeah. I remember watching the movie, and it was like not even halfway through, and I said, this guy's got to be nominated for an Oscar for this. He's so good. Like his switch.
He is the standout. He is the number one that scene where you see him in the Mood for Love scene, where it's like the green and the red and the contrasting colors.
Are you talking about when he's like they're in the alley and he has the...
Yes.
And he says like, in another life, I would have loved to have just done taxes and whatever. And I was like, I'm going to start crying. That messed me up. Like that messed me up. And that scene gets me. I also do feel like Evelyn a lot though, because I sometimes feel, this is going to be like way too real, but I feel like I am trapped in the decisions of my youth sometimes. And I know that we all have the power to change our lives, but it is not always as simple. Sometimes it's easier for some, more difficult for others, and there are outlying circumstances that change us from being able to change these things. And sometimes we get trapped in these situations that it's also a waterfall. We ruin everyone else's life just because we are trying to find happiness. We're like, isn't 5 people being happy better than your happiness? You know, like sort of a thing. Like I think that's a chronic people pleaser syndrome is the problem. But I feel Evelyn on that part.
You're making me love this movie right now. Like your explanation of how you connected to it, and this is why I just love movies so much.
I know.
Is because every movie connects to different people, and like that moment in your life when you kind of need to see something.
And that's what I think it was. It's complicated. It's crazy, but it's also that moment. I think there's a thing where like, this is why I always say I love Superstore, the TV show as well, is that I will bawl my eyes out when I watch Superstore, because I see a show that was written by somebody that knows exactly what it's like to be on the bottom rung and just have people step on you and step on you and step on you, and you are expected to make the most of everything, and you form these beautiful relationships and bonds and things that become so strong that they can't step out of you anymore. And it's just like, it's exquisite. Like it's beautiful. And Everything Everywhere All at Once is, I feel like that's Evelyn's journey, is this thing where like, how do you find happiness in those choices that maybe you necessarily can't break free from, but also that you maybe don't actually really want to break free from, but you just wish they were a little bit different. But then also it's hard because Evelyn has to also realize that it's not just about her. She has a daughter that is inheriting this trauma from that generational trauma that also dates back to the grandfather, who's very significant in the movie too. And I love James. God, I love him so much. Can't remember his name right now. I'm bad. Whenever I try to think of people's names on the spot, it's awful. James Hong. He just got a Hollywood.
I do not know.
He does. He's like 90. He is like, hold on, I'm going to look at him. Yeah, James Hong. I was right. He was Cassandra's parents in Cassandra's father in Wayne's World 2. But
Oh, my favorite movie that I watch every week.
Yeah, you know. I actually do love Wayne's World, so but showing. I think the daughter's story is so freaking real too, where she's just like you can't just fix it overnight. Like, that's what I love, because she's also the anti-movie, where she's like, you don't just get to decide one day that you feel better and I'm supposed to be like, it's better. But she has that deep, that's why I love the symbolism of the bagel too, where like it's everything on the bagel and it's so freaking absurd, but the bagel is also this like emotional feeling. It's this like black hole, essentially.
It's a black hole, but then the light that's
but it's like the thing,
it.
And then when she's like, I give up, but the mom was like, well, when you give up, I want to be there with you when you give up. And that's how you know I mean. But the daughter's just like, my life is, like, it sucks. And I don't know if it's because of you or if it's because of all of this or everything like that. And it's like, you can't just talk me out of it. And I have felt like that so many times, where it's like, I love friends and family who can talk to me and everything like that. Sometimes it's like you are a slave to your own brain, because you know it doesn't matter what anyone says for you. You are still going to think and do exactly what you are wired to do. And that's like this like other part with the daughter that I'm just like, it's like the movie isn't trying to be, but is so incredibly profound in so many weird moments. Like even when the husband says, Evelyn, be nice. And I'm like crushed in that moment, because I also feel like Evelyn a lot, where like I've become this version of me that isn't who I am because of factors like, I'm going to be 100% honest right now, my job morphs me into someone I don't want to be, in terms of anger and pressure. And it's not the people who watch, it's other factors that, I mean, I'm not ready to talk about yet, but I will someday. Yeah. And like, there's trauma related to that. And like, I feel like it's hard, because you want to be the nice person. And you look at it where it seems so easy, but Evelyn has to do all these things and these absurd things and climb these steps, like figuratively and literally, to be that person for so many people. But then it's still not enough for the daughter. You know what I mean? It's like so interwrapped.
And that's what got
like,
me.
Yeah.
That was the part that I was struggling so much. And I like the way that you explain it, but that one scene where the daughter is just like, no, like, but for the mother to have that kind of realization, to have been affected by her father. Yeah. And then I felt like the daughter didn't understand that. And I felt so frustrated with her in that moment. And I think in a lot of ways, I didn't connect. I wanted to connect to the mother-daughter relationship in the movie, and I didn't. And that was one of the things where I was like, oh, this is a really great movie. I am enjoying this movie, but I'm not connecting with this movie.
I think
in a certain way.
I come from a family who definitely has like generational, I mean, everybody does, right? Everybody does.
Everyone has, but like, everyone has different problems, but I would say like the feeling or the conflicts in this family weren't the conflicts that I would think with my family necessarily.
But I think that's also in terms of like, I'm not saying in like a rude or condescending way, but I also think maybe that's also maybe an aspect of seeing it told from like a different, the Chinese standpoint. You know what I mean? Like absolutely. That could be culturally related, where maybe that's a thing we don't lock into. But I also like, I love my grandparents. My grandparents essentially, my parents are divorced since I was a little kid. My dad is not a bad person. And I'm not speaking ill of my father or anything like that. But I always remember people always, when I was younger, being like, oh, your parents are divorced, And I'm like, I don't need somebody. My mother is my mother and my father. And my grandmother is my mother and my father. And my grandfather is my mother and my father. Like, I am the definition of it takes a village. And I feel lucky. When I was 20 years old, I took a car ride to Florida with my grandparents. And I remember that was the first time I was there, and I saw my grandmother and my grandfather have a fight. And I remember thinking, I see it. I see my mom now. I see that little bit of my mom. I see that trace. I see the line, the apple that fell. Like, I see it. And then I felt it in me. Like, and I recognize where it drops down into me. And I recognize it. And I see where my siblings don't see it. And they didn't do the work, and they don't do the stuff. And I'm trying to go backwards now and go back up. And so, like, there's some of that. You know what? I think it's a movie. I think it's not a universal movie. I don't think everybody who watches it will. I don't think they have to. I don't think everybody who sees it has to say this was the best movie I've ever seen. But I think you can watch a movie and say this is a well-made movie. It's just not for me, right?
And that's it. And I wouldn't even say this is not for me. It is for me. It's just not, it just didn't hit in the same way. And what you just said about family and seeing your grandparents as people and your mother as a person. So I had that same experience watching a movie this year, and that was After Sun. After Sun.
Oh, I haven't. One of the ones I haven't seen. So please talk about that.
That movie, and that's not nominated for Best
Picture,
but that's it's one of the things I have written down as this absolutely should have been.
It's got a Best Actor nomination, though, right?
It does. It does have a Best Actor for Paul Mescal, but it should have been so much more.
So what's that movie about?
It should have been cinematography. It should have been director. Like, this is a movie where I felt like I was watching memories that weren't my own, but they felt like they were mine. Like, I connected to something in this movie in such a universal way where it was like, connections to my father, connections to my mother, feeling like you're seeing parts of a person, but you don't see the whole picture, but you know when something is off, kind of. But being a child, like being like 12 years old and having those moments where you see your parents as actual real people. And also I love they go on this like cheesy vacation. And I remember going to Lancaster when I was a little kid. So it was like a similar kind of cheesy resort town location, and the dad is trying so hard, but he's poor. He doesn't have a lot of money to give her this vacation, and the daughter kind of knows it. And there was something, it's much slower, which, that's like my style. I like a slower movie. I like a buildup. I felt like I was seeing a poem, like I was watching this liquid, fluid poem. And when you find out, like, this is based a lot on Charlotte Wells's life.
Yeah.
It is the most literal I think I was crying for a solid 20 minutes at the end of this movie. Like, this was I am hysterically crying during the whole ending of this movie.
I know it's not the same movie, but you gave me a little bit of vibe. Like, I know it's really weird, but I remember watching Kramer versus Kramer in like film class and being like, I had never seen it. And just really, it was a moment. I will never forget it's like this whole conversation is making me emotional, but it was a moment where I was like, I called my mom and I was like, Mom, did Dad like try to get us in the divorce? Like, cause it was one of those where I was like, I never thought about it in that aspect. Cause my father always lived very close to us when we were kids. And like I said, my dad is not a bad person. And I saw my dad a lot growing up, and I preferred the situation the way it was because my mother and my father are opposite people, so like they should not have had.
It's a good thing.
Should not be together.
It was a good thing.
Like, I'm happy to be on this planet Earth, and I think they did what they were supposed to do and then moved on. And I love them both, and so it's one of those things where. But I remember that being that sort of movie that kind of all of a sudden you cue in, right? And you like, but like the thing is my mother would have been the Dustin Hoffman character, and my dad would have been the Meryl Streep character in that movie. But it's one of those weird moments where you see a movie where I think, I'm sure we're going to say this 10 million more times, but that sounds like the type of movie where you're like, that's why you love movies, right? Because it makes you feel seen, whether as a person, emotionally, or a thing, or everything. It's just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just like, it makes you feel validated in this way that I don't think anything else can. Yeah, like you are, not to like bring it back, but when Robin Williams reads the poem in, sorry, in Dead Poets Society, where he does it's in the Apple commercial for the iPad, where he's like, why do we make art? And it's like to contribute a verse to the thing. And I'm just like, I will listen to that and cry because I love Robin Williams so much, but I'm also like, that's why we exist. And and I think like people like you and me, like who love that sort of a medium, that's where we're like, this is why we exist, to be a part of this. And it's just crazy that a movie can look at you without knowing it's you and say, hey, I got this thing for you. You know what I mean?
And I find that when I watch movies, sometimes I feel more connected to the universe and people than if I am to just go out into the world and then be disappointed by people or interactions. But then I realized like there are people out there in this world and artists that tap into something that we all feel. And that's why, are you a crier at the Academy Awards?
Oh God, girl.
I am like, crying.
Lately, when Artie and Rocket came into my life, my two dogs, I was like, oh, is this what women feel like after they give birth? Which is an awful thing to compare it to. But I was like,
but you know me, I have my 5 cats.
Switch. Yeah. And I know when you lost one a couple of years ago, it was like, when you said it, I was like, oh girl, I know exactly. I know the devastation you're going through. And it's one of those where you're like, not everybody does get it, where you're like, no, that's your child. Like, and it makes you literally look and feel different as a part of the world. And like, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It makes you all like come together in that way. But I'm 100% with you in that way where like, I do get very emotional. Like I get emotional if there's like, I'll watch like a movie and I'm like, if it's a perfect scene, I'm like, I'm crying because of the execution of the scene, because I'm like, yes, all these people work so hard to make this beautiful thing. And you're just like, oh my God, this is gorgeous, you know?
Yeah. I always think like it is a miracle that a movie gets made. Like the fact that it even exists and that these like thousands of people came together and created this thing. I'm like, how did this happen? And even if the movie is just awful, or I hate the movie, like Beowulf, like I hate Beowulf. This is like one of my touchstone most hated movies.
Are you talking about like the Robert Zemeckis Beowulf?
Like the Robert Zemeckis. Beowulf, and everything about it is bad. But even that, I'm like, you know what? He was trying to do something different, and that's what's so. There's always something positive that I can see in a movie, because the fact that it got made is a miracle. It's beautiful.
So what in this list of the movies, because I told you mine, and I know we're like 40 minutes after when you asked me that question. But it's fine. That's what we're here to talk about, right? Like, I love movies. I talk all day about it. What in the list is your favorite that you saw of the best pictures? Just the ones that are actually nominated.
Yeah. So my 2 favorite are definitely Tar and Banshees of Inisherin, because those were 2 movies that and you didn't see those movies. Martin McDonagh is my favorite human being / writer, like in general.
What was the last movie?
Psychopaths.
Well, yeah, I was going to say. Oh my God, 3 Billboards is one of those movies where it was like, I remember sitting in the movie theater and it was over and I was like, this movie is like, it's going to get every award. Like, and
it didn't.
It's like, no, it didn't. And that was the crazy, I mean, she won Best Actress, definitely. It's like right here. It's right here. I just want to prove when I say these things about loving movies, 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. If you have not seen this movie, watch this movie. It is so good. It's so good to the point where I was like, I Googled it because I was like, is this a real story? Because it was so good, right?
But it's not. But it's so real. And that's the thing about Martin McDonagh. He creates characters that feel so real to me, but it's so biting and it's sharp and it's dark. Like he goes dark real quick. And that's why I feel like he is my heart. Like it's my kind of humor. It is spot on. The Irish, like the dialect and the way he puts the language together, it is unlike any other writer. Like he is everything to me. And I've seen his plays in person. Like I saw Jeff Goldblum and Billy Crudup in The Pillow Man, and that was on Broadway. And that was, I don't love going to see plays. I think plays can be really slow sometimes. But he changed my mind on plays. Like it was violent. It was beautiful. The production design looked like Tim Burton. Like it was mind blowing. And Banshees to me is this like perfect, quiet, universal story. And it's about like the fear of death. Connections that we have with humans and how we lose that. Like it has everything I love.
Isn't it also like a metaphor for the Civil War in Ireland, right? I saw somebody said that where they were like, oh, it's a Civil War thing in Ireland. And I was like, oh, actually that makes me more interested, where I was like, where they were like, one day he just decided he didn't like the guy anymore. And you're like, oh God. Because I watched Derry Girls, so I know. Have you seen Derry Girls?
Which one did you watch?
It's a TV show it's on Netflix, but it's an Irish TV show called Dairy Girls.
Oh, yes, I know that show. Yes.
Okay. I'm not done with it yet. I'm on season 3. It's 3 seasons. It's only like 8 episodes each season. They're 30-minute episodes. It is hilarious, but it takes place during the height of their Civil War because there's like the car bomb and everything. And I think if you like for everything you just said about that, I think you'd love it. Yeah, honestly. Yeah. It's very, very good.
So I think you actually might like Banshees because when I watch movies, I do think about like, how would you respond to this movie? Because like, I think of when we saw Promising Young Woman, I just knew you were going to love that movie. Like in my heart of heart,
Promising Young Woman.
I knew it. I'm like, this is your movie. You're going to love it. But I think you would like Banshees and Cate Blanchett in Tar. Dude, you have no idea. It is
Promising Young Woman.
Unlike you. Look at that.
See, I was like, I'm proving that I like this stuff. Promising Young Woman is like a movie I will talk about to the end of time because I was like, you and I talked about it because I think you and I liked it way more than anybody else in the group. But it was like, I was like aesthetically, the acting, like my jaw was on the ground at the end of this movie. Yes. And what's dumbfounding to me is that it was that director's like first movie, right?
First movie.
And she was like 8 months pregnant. Well, she made it too, which is crazy too. Like good for her. Pregnant. Like, oh my God. It was like, it's so good. And my mom wants to watch it, but at the same time, she's like, I'm afraid it's a scary movie. And I was like, Mom, I don't think you understand. I was like, it's more of a super dark comedy that's very real. Like, it's funny because you laugh, so you're not like crying, sort of a thing. But
because it is so
real. Somebody just joined our YouTube chat, Keith, and said, have any of you seen After Sun? Great performance. And Alyssa was actually just talking about After Sun, so that makes her very happy. Yeah. But no, yeah. I do look forward to watching the Banshees movie. Like I mean, I like Colin Farrell. I like Brendan Gleeson, obviously.
Good.
Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to watching that. And you know, like sometimes you go to watch a movie and you're like, I've dragged my feet because I gotta watch it because it's nominated for the awards. Like, okay, you said that, and what was the other one that you said was your favorite?
Tar.
Okay, so I haven't seen Tar. I only just found out Tar is not about a real person.
Wait, you're making a joke.
Lydia Tar. I thought this movie, because they made it out to be like it was based on Lydia Tar the person.
Made it look like that.
Yeah, and I was like, and I'm an idiot and read all internet reviews, and I was like, oh, okay, based on the life of Lydia Tar. Sure, I don't know who that is, but I'll pretend like I do. It's like it's a Blair Witch project.
So she's brilliant. She is. I know who you're going to want to win for Best Actress. And I'm never going to budge on who I want to win for Best Actress.
Who do you want to win? I mean, we can get to it, I guess. We'll get to it.
Yeah, I know. But it was a performance literally, she learned German. She was conducting the Berlin Orchestra in the movie. Like, she was actually conducting the orchestra.
I mean, so, Cate Blanchett is one of those sort of performers that is next level, but I also feel like in real life you'd want to be like best friends with, right?
Oh, I think her and I would actually be best friends. We have the same personality type. We're INFJ. So I just know, I feel like in my heart, I get her. I get Carey Mulligan. Like, those are my actresses.
Carey Mulligan, what was the movie she was in about the Harvey Weinstein?
She Said.
Okay, I saw that.
A really good movie.
You saw it? Yeah, I saw it in the movie theater. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Did you like it or no? You didn't say you liked it?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was really good, interesting. Dialogue
I thought it was
great.
crazy.
I thought the screenplay could have gotten nominated.
Yeah, because honestly, like, it reminded me a lot of Spotlight. It was that sort of like, it came in. Exactly. It was very like this, but the whole way through the movie. So it was very consistent tone, very consistent thing. And to the point where you're just like, you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of not on the edge of your seat, but you're just like, what happens? And I was telling my mom, because she wants to watch it, and I was like, you know, even with everything I read, I was like, this movie kind of laid it out where I was like, I didn't realize it was as deep into everything as it was. So I'm getting a question.
And all those small parts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Everybody in that movie was so good. Like, but I also want her to watch it. I want her to watch it because I want her to realize the stuff in the beginning about the Trump stuff, where the Carey Mulligan is getting harassed over that, because my mom will still be like, no. And I'll be like, Mom, you can't be like, Harvey Weinstein was a terrible person. My mom named every terrible person. She was like, Harvey Weinstein. She said, Jeffrey Epstein, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you know who his best friend is, Mom. Like, yes. Come on now.
But that's what I liked about the movie. It brought all these other things in, like from the side. And what it said about motherhood and like the two women trying to work and that one just had the baby, like it brought up other points that I thought, wow, this added so much to the story.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't one dimensional.
Right. And you know what I just watched too on the airplane back and forth from Austin was Bombshell. I had never seen that. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I thought that was fun.
I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, I was like, it was about something I had no idea. I didn't know any of that happened, and I was like, oh, yeah. But phenomenal acted movie too. Like Charlize Theron was so good. Nicole Kidman, Margot Robbie.
I love her.
Yeah, they were all so good that I was just like,
people hated that movie, but I actually liked it.
Yeah,
I thought it was fast paced, like.
It was like one of those movies where I was like, God, I hope it's on the airplane on the way back because I only got halfway through. And I was like, I really want to keep watching this movie. I thought John Lithgow was great in it too. I was like, God, John Lithgow, though, is one of those people where I'm like, he's great in everything. So.
Yeah, I just saw Terms of Endearment again, and I was like, wow, he was so good in this like 10-minute role in that movie.
We are living in the time of Footloose right now. People are literally going to take dance away from us. And I am like, I don't think John Lithgow's performance has ever been more relevant in the movie Footloose than it has been right now in this day and age, in this political climate
especially
we live
in Florida.
God, girl, like, don't even get me started on here. I'm going to get fired from this one live stream.
You're living in a special place right now.
Keith is asking in the chat.
To dance in New York.
Yeah, and not so much here, but not so much in Tennessee apparently anymore either. But Keith is asking about a movie called Brian and Charles. Have you heard of this movie?
Is this the British movie? It's a British comedy, is it?
They brought it up earlier. Brian and Charles was an under the radar, very good movie of 2022. He says, I think you'd love it. Bittersweet. So I'm gonna have to.
I don't know.
Tim Swan's in the chat. Hey, Tim Swan. Tim Swan's one of my best friends, who I haven't seen in like forever, and I always miss him dearly. He lives in Portland, Oregon now, and our schedules never align, and I miss him dearly, and I wish I was better about telling the people who are most important in my life to me how important they are. Tim, you're one of those people. I love you. You're a shining star, and I never tell you enough. And Alyssa, I'm happy to be here with you, too, because I think you're a great friend, too, and stuff like that. So. Okay, Tim's asking now the big question, anything not nominated that should have been nominated. We talked about it earlier. I think, for me, The Batman did not get any of the attention it deserved, right? I'm going to look through this list, but Alyssa, is there another movie you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, so actually, I thought Nope really could have been nominated for Best Picture. Like, I thought Nope was a really underrated movie.
Yeah. Kim is
did you see it?
I saw it. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But Kim is like, will not shut up about it. Like to the point where I'm like, but like, I love Jordan Peele. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I know everybody raves about Get Out, and I think Get Out is a phenomenal movie. I love Us. I will watch Us. I think Us to me is one of those movies where I was like, why does the Academy not look at horror movie performances? Because Lupita Nyong'o in Us is so good. Like, it is one of those, it gives me chills. And then I think who's Elizabeth Moss in that movie? But she's in Invisible Man. Moss. In Invisible Man, I thought she was phenomenal in Invisible Man. Again, another thing overlooked, not nominated. I mean, I know those movies aren't this year, but I think they're a big miss. I'm trying to look and see if The Batman, what it was actually nominated for, because it got nominated for something, right?
Batman is makeup and hairstyling.
No. Oh, it is. You're right. I'm sorry. My cursor was over it. Yeah. I was like, no. I haven't seen The Whale.
Yeah, it didn't get score.
No. Is it only makeup and hairstyling? Oh, no. Visual effects.
No, there's one more. Visual effects. I was going to say there's one more.
That's kind of baloney. Why even visual effects?
But it didn't get...
I didn't even look at that movie and go, oh, visual effects. Like, yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. And what's funny is, I don't know about you, but I feel like there should be an ensemble cast nomination. Like, there's a best picture, like, but why is there not like an ensemble, like this whole group of actors are the best actors of the year? Because I actually thought the Batman is so perfectly cast.
I was going to bring up like, Glass Onion when you just said that, but it's nominated.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Okay, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's just nominated for screenplay. It's not like it's nominated for anything else.
No, but I agree with you about the Batman too. Colin Farrell, I think it's one of those movies like Andy Serkis, phenomenal as right as Alfred. I think Edward Cullen, what's his name?
Kravitz?
Robert Pattinson.
Oh, Robert Pattinson.
Zoe Kravitz.
Number one.
Yes, yeah, Zoe Kravitz. Every single person in that movie owns the scene they're in. Every single person.
Exactly. Even like John Turturro, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, John Turturro especially, I feel like, is like an underrated like. As Falcone,
and Paul
like,
Dano,
so
like we're idiots.
Oh, I forgot Paul Dano.
Like,
oh my God, do you?
Did you see for anything?
Did you see the deleted scene from the movie too, where it's like the dude from Banshees of Inisherin?
Barry Keoghan
plays the Joker in that deleted scene, and I'm like,
yeah.
I hope they keep him because I'm kind of like that movie.
Interested.
That scene made me uncomfortable. Like,
I love Barry Keoghan. He is just like.
He was my.
See The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
No.
That is, I don't know if you would love it, but it is like next level weird. It took me 2 watches to actually love that movie, but he is ridiculous in it. He's terrifying in the movie. Like terrifying.
He was my favorite part of the Eternals, honestly. So, in a movie that I didn't love. So,
I barely remember anything about that movie.
I remember him, and I remember Brian Tyree Henry, who I'm in love with. So, okay, so I need to talk to you though, like, because we got to talk about the other movies too. Did you see The Fabelmans? I mean, obviously
I did see The Fabelmans.
What do you think of The Fabelmans?
And I thought it was.
Speaking of Paul Dano, The Fabelmans.
No, and I thought Paul Dano was great. I thought parts of the middle, I started getting bored a little bit. It was a little bit slow, but I liked it. And I thought the ending of that movie was one of the best endings I've ever seen. Like that John Ford scene, that was the most perfect way you could end that movie.
Also David Lynch playing that thing, right?
Lynch. Why did he not get nominated instead of John Hurt? Like I actually thought David Lynch was the best performer in that movie.
I don't know. I did think Judd Hirsch was great though too, when he does the blood rips you apart, and like when he slaps him and he does the thing. I'm like, and he's only in the movie for a little bit, but I always remember him. I was like emotionally messed up watching that movie too, because it was like I don't not agree with you that it was like from beginning to end in terms of like it felt like it was 2 movies put together to me.
Yes.
So it kind of like had a thing, and then it had to come back up to a crescendo. But it was worth it in the end. But it was long. But it was such like an interesting story. I listened to the Smart List podcast with Steven Spielberg, and when he was on, and if you haven't listened to that, he talks about it, and he basically was like, I didn't make this movie for anybody except for myself. And he said, so when other people said they liked it, and I was like, oh wow. And so I look at it as like Steven Spielberg's like therapy, but I do think the movie has some like great commentary on movies themselves, where it's like that, like you talk about the ending, and it's like that part with the bully, because like I saw with Eli and he was confused, and it was like, Eli was like, I don't get it, and I was like, I think the thing is like the character of Sammy showed a version of what he could be. And that was the thing that kind of messed this guy up, because they don't realize like movies can make people into other things. Like you can become something else. And like you can, like he showed this guy the version of him that he sees. And I was like, and that's not who he is. And that's something you like struggle with, is that sort of like, I don't know. It was interesting. Also, like that is a movie that did get me very emotional. It was finally the part in the end, and it's in the trailer, so I'm not ruining anything. But the mother says, your life doesn't belong to anybody but you. It doesn't belong to me. I love you. It doesn't belong to me. It's your life. You have to do what makes... And I was like crying in the movie theater, because it was just one of those things where it's the hardest thing in the world to accept, is it's like, do the thing that you are passionate about and the thing that you love, because it makes your soul like the happiest version of you that you can be, right? And I need to know,
that was my favorite part of the movie.
Who is the actress that you think should win Best Actress?
So for me, Best Actress is definitely Cate Blanchett.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if you were leaning toward, well, because Michelle Williams, yeah, that's why I was like, oh.
Yeah, I think definitely Cate Blanchett, because to me she was actually like the performance of the year, like male, female. That was just my favorite performance. Yeah, it was so layered, and she's so strong, and it's a very complicated movie. It's not a complicated movie to understand. It's like the ideas that it brings up, it makes you feel uncomfortable as you're watching the movie, and you start kind of wondering if you're feeling the way you're supposed to be feeling in the movie as you're watching it. And I feel like that could only work with Cate Blanchett in that lead role. So for me, she was the best. I actually think in this category, Rebecca Hall and Daniel Deadwyler should have been nominated for Best Actress. So like Rebecca Hall was in Resurrection, super low budget horror movie. It is bizarre. She is amazing. And Daniel Deadwyler in Till was just outstanding.
Rebecca Hall, what was she in a Christopher Nolan movie?
She was in The Night House from last year, and then she was in Vicky.
No, she was. She's from The Prestige. I know what you are.
Yes, she's in Prestige.
Yeah, she's also in that awful
I feel like
Wally Pfister movie with Johnny Depp, where Wally Pfister being being Christopher Nolan's cinematographer who popped over. Yeah.
Yes. But
I do like Rebecca Hall a lot. I think she's a great actress. Yeah. I think she's good. She actually, I always confuse her with one of Ross's, the one who plays Ross's, not the wife, but the girlfriend. I'm always like, that's the girlfriend from Friends, and it's not. People are talking about this movie, Ordinary People, in the chat. What is Ordinary People?
Ordinary People is an older film. That's
I feel like I remember that title. That's why I'm like
Timothy Hutton, right?
I don't know. That's why I'm like, I'm gonna look it up. Ordinary People, because now I'm like, I like this. I liked it. Ordinary People, 1980. Donald Sutherland, Mary Tyler Moore.
Right.
She's a Louisa. This cat. Judd Hirsch. You're right. Timothy Hutton.
In the family. Yeah.
Emmett Walsh. Jeez Louise. This is.
It's very sad. Cast. Very sad.
Oh no, I can't handle it.
So who would you pick for Best Actress?
Okay, for Best Actress, I think so in the leading actress category role, we have Cate Blanchett for Tar, Ana de Armas for Blonde, Andrea Riseborough to Leslie, which is the one that's like the controversial one, right?
Yeah.
Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love Michelle Yeoh, but it's like what you said, where I think Kei Huy Kwan for support for actor. Oh, he's a supporting actor, not for actor. I wouldn't be upset if Michelle Williams won. Like Cate Blanchett, I didn't see Tar yet, so I can't speak to it. But I thought Michelle Williams is phenomenal in The Fabelmans.
Yeah, I agree. She's the best part.
I just think it's so complicated. I do also think The Fabelmans, maybe it's because I'm a mama's boy, it just feels like this thing where it's not even the mama's boy. I think it's like you find the person in life who encouraged you to be the artist. And you're like, not that I'm an artist, I would never use that word for myself, but
you're
like that person who you feel that fire burning a little bit. The campfire is going, and that's like, I think about that connection with my mom that way. And like, I mean, it was my grandma that really got me into like plays and acting and reading Goosebumps and stuff like that and things like that. But it was like, I think about my mom who always was like, you'll be whatever you want to be, and whatever that is, it'll be good enough for everyone. It doesn't matter. And so like, I kind of get, it's a little more like, I'm like, it's a mom. I don't know. It's a mom trying to make the most and do the best.
I felt the same way.
Paul Dano's great in that movie too, though. I felt
like, yeah, no, but he was. They were all. The acting was phenomenal, and even Gabriel Labelle, is that his name? The guy who played Steven Spielberg. I thought that actor
I thought he was great. Yeah, the kid. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really, really good. But I feel like Michelle Williams in that dance was just, I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And I loved that she wasn't just a perfect, like, inspirational mom. She was not mentally there 100%. And she's taking her kids out in really dangerous situations.
Oh, the hurricane.
And I liked that like in the hurricane. So I liked how she wasn't just this like pristine character. She was interesting and she was different. It was,
it was complicated, right? It was layered.
It was complicated. Like, exactly.
Yeah. I think, and that's why I think I like that scene with Judd Hirsch where he shows up and it's like he talks about like what she could have been, and it's like kind of sad, but it's also like he's like, but that's why you do what you got to do. That's why he's like, your mother has it and you have that in your heart, and you're like, I don't know. It's also one of those movies where you're like, that's Steven Spielberg. You know, like what I like. It's hard because it's like it also calls into question where you're like, oh, we're watching a movie about a privileged person, but you're like, but they're not privileged. They're not like watching Steven Spielberg come from what he came from. Like, yes, his father was a smart person, but it also wasn't like, oh, they came from a rich family. And also these people beat him up for being Jewish and stuff like that, which is also insane. And it's like, and it's one of those things where I don't know. There's something for me, in the end of days, when I lie on my deathbed, if that ever happens, and we don't die from the meteor before that, I think for me, Steven Spielberg will be one of those people where you were like, who had that hand in your life the whole time? And like E.T., like growing up, like a movie like E.T., and then realizing when you get older, the story about the mother, like what she's going through. And I never registered any of that as a kid. And like, I don't know, did my mom go through that same stuff? And then like, I always think like he's in Mexico and that he hates Mexico and, you know, stuff like that. But then like Hook, like I know it's not, nobody looks at it as like one of Steven Spielberg's best movies, but like I have a thing on my wall right here of the shot with Rufio and the sword between the nose where the reflecting light on the gold sword. And there's just something about this thing where it's like Peter, the adult, facing off against the leader of the Lost Boys, who Peter was. And it's just this whole dichotomy about who you were versus who you are. And do you leave behind who you are or do you embrace it? Like, and I'm like, and I will cry listening to the score of Hook. And like, it's like, there's so many things. We already said Jurassic Park. But then there's this other movie that's just about like why we love these movies. And Steven Spielberg, like I don't get the hate. Like I am definitely in the camp of Steven Spielberg where like I am on the firm belief, like I think we need to make movies for the most amount of people to enjoy. Not at the sacrifice of the art and any means necessary. Like Jaws, when people think of like, oh, well, Jaws is that blockbuster movie, but you're like, Jaws is a story about a man dealing with his family and like and it's just one of those things where I was like, he threads that needle so well. And it's just like, I don't know. In the end, it'll be Steven Spielberg for me. You know what I mean? We don't have much time left with him. We don't have much time left with him, Alyssa. No, he's like almost 80.
He needed to do this movie, and I'm so happy he did this movie, and I'm glad it's nominated. And I'm also I don't know how you feel about Best Director and who you want to win.
No, but should we look at that? Should we look at that?
I really wouldn't be angry if he won. Like, he's not predicted to win.
No,
but
who is predicted?
So when he won the Golden Globe, I actually started crying.
I did too. This is why. See, we get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I was saying to Joe, my husband, I was like, I don't know, this wasn't even my favorite movie, but I'm so happy he just won. Yeah. And I was literally just like bawling.
When he said, Mom and Dad, this is for you. Also, the crazy part is watching that documentary about him, not realizing his parents only recently passed away. Like,
yes, no, and it was like right
2 years ago,
the pandemic.
Yeah, and that's the craziest part where it's just like, it breaks my heart because I feel like it was his thing where he didn't do it. Like, I think he kind of feels like I didn't get it fast enough, but that's like, but then also, you know what made me cry too is when Kay won for Everything Everywhere, and he was like, Steven Spielberg gave me the chance, and he's right there in the audience, and I'm like crying because I'm like, I can't believe this man is here so many years later and doing that, and it's like, oh my God, I'm like emotional, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's like you see how many people's lives he's touched.
Yeah.
And I think like those
But he's
older
still
actors
humble
like
about it.
Denzel. Wait, what'd you say?
I said I feel like he's not like a dick about it. Like he's still a little humble.
No. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like he still loves what he does. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's respected and he's not an asshole. Yeah, like he's actually a nice person. Just like when Denzel got Austin Butler, like helped Austin Butler to get the role in Elvis.
I didn't know that.
I love hearing stories like that. Yeah, because they did The Iceman Cometh on Broadway, and he said this actor has the greatest work ethic I've ever encountered. And so he called up Baz Luhrmann, didn't know Baz Luhrmann, and that was one of the things that got Austin Butler hired.
Wow, that's I see.
Yeah.
I love like.
Yes.
I love people that use their power to help people. Yeah, like that sort
Yes,
of a thing where like
exactly.
lifting those voices up, using that for good.
Exactly.
So you mentioned the director thing. So we have Todd Field for Tar. There's the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Martin McDonagh for The Banshees and of Inisherin, and then Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness, and Steven Spielberg for Fabelmans. My choice in that would be Steven Spielberg.
Oh, it would be. Oh, I thought you were going to say the Daniels. That's
no.
Okay, cool.
I mean, I think the Daniels. I think they made something great, but I think that Steven Spielberg, I think if we take Steven Spielberg as everything we talked about and all the movies he's made and the films he's made and this thing he made, which is also like not a biopic, but is a biopic, right? Like not the typical one where you'd be like, because normally a biopic about Steven Spielberg would start where this movie ended, right? Like it'd start with him on the lot, right? And that's where I'm like, give me the sequel. But The Fabelmans Part 2. So that's where I think there's something beautiful about how he made this movie that's still about. Also, I feel like whenever someone makes a movie about movies themselves, those always seem to hit really well with the Academy, right?
They do. They do. And I would much prefer Steven Spielberg to win Best Director. I personally would want Todd Field to win, but like I'm a snob. And it is a movie that was so incredibly put together, like from a technical perspective, and he wrote it as well. And I thought I had no interest in classical music at all. And yet all of a sudden I understood everything that makes classical music beautiful because of this movie. Like, because I felt like the director was excited about putting this movie together. I felt interested in a subject matter that I didn't think I would like. That to me is a miracle.
Yeah. No, I think that's a testament. I really do. Like, you know what it reminds me of? Like, everything you just said really reminds me of, like, I loved Ford versus Ferrari, and I could give a shit about cars. So I was like, okay. Yeah. But that's why I was like, that's why what makes me excited about the new Indiana Jones movie is that James Mangold has now done, like, Logan, Ford versus Ferrari, and I'm like, give me that next movie. Yeah. And I'm like, so who in the actor category, who do you think is going to win for actor? Do you think it's going to be Brendan Fraser?
Do I think?
No?
I keep going back and forth. I
haven't seen it. Did you see it?
Win. Yeah. I think Austin Butler has a real shot. I think Brendan Fraser has a huge push, but I also think he has a lot of detractors. I think there are a lot of people who are kind of don't love it. Did you see The Whale?
No, I literally had tickets for it and had to cancel, and then that was like the last day it was showing, so I like regret not just going to see it. Because I did really want to see it. I mean, I'll watch a Darren Aronofsky film, as crazy as they are sometimes. But didn't Austin Butler win the Golden Globe for Elvis?
Austin Butler won the Golden Globe. Colin Farrell won the Golden Globe. Colin Farrell,
because it was comedy versus drama.
Because it's comedy and drama. Yeah.
And then musical.
But Brendan Fraser was never going to win that because Brendan Fraser had the problem with the Hollywood Foreign Press. So there was no way that he was going to win that award.
But he won the Spirit Award, right?
That was the drama.
He won whatever the thing is that's usually the forecaster for the Oscars, right?
He won the Critics' Choice. He won the SAG Award for Best Actor, Brendan Fraser. But he's, I I don't know. I think he's okay in the movie. Like, I think
yeah.
You didn't. I think he did. I don't know if he changed as much. He felt like Brendan Fraser is what I'll say. He felt like a super nice, likable guy.
It feels, well, sometimes it's like, is the casting just really good? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Like, he was very good in the movie, but also Austin Butler was like a different human being. And I don't like biopics.
Voice is all weird and
hate
everything,
biopics.
Right?
Yeah, his voice is, I know. The voices.
He's still, like, because he started talking and I was like, does this guy talk like Elvis? Is that why he got the part?
No.
And someone was like,
like, if you watch his old movies, he does not sound like that. But,
he's in Dune 2, and he's not going to sound like that.
He's in Dune 2. I listened to an 1.5-hour interview with him, and I was like, you just sold me. Like, what he did for this movie, he literally lived in Australia for 6 months during COVID because he didn't want to lose the character, and he didn't want to start, like, hanging out with his friends and, like, lose all of the work. So he literally lost 6 months of his life, not sure if he was going to actually film this movie, and then it ended up working out and they ended up filming the movie. Like, he really is that good in it.
Well, I'll say it when
I see it.
And I don't think it's
a great movie. Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what
you think Brendan Fraser, right?
I mean, I think he's like the favorite, but I think that's like the audience favorite because we all love Brendan Fraser because we love, you know, The Mummy and Encino Man and stuff like that. But like the more and more Brendan Fraser does with these like podcasts where I haven't listened to the episode of Smart Lisa's on, but Craig listens to a lot of stuff he's been on. And Craig was like, I think Brendan Fraser is kind of pretentious. And I was like, what? And he said that where he's like, a lot of the interviews he's been doing, he's coming off very like, well, the craft and the thing and that. And I was like, from the guy who was in the second Looney Tune movie, like...
all he's ever done is broad comedy, and then this one movie comes out. And
not all he's ever... Because, School Ties. Hello, come on. The drama he was in.
It was the
and he was
Quiet
good.
American. He was in that, and that was a drama too.
What's the Gods and Monsters movie he was in there?
I heard him in a Hollywood Reporter interview, and he came across...
That's what I've heard.
I don't know. I just don't connect to him.
I'm worried that we want him to be the fun guy he is. Yes, we want him to be the guy from Bedazzled, and he's not going to be the guy from Bedazzled.
Yes, exactly. And he's not the Mummy, but I mean, I think he might win.
We'll see, but we talked about actress in the leading role, actor in the supporting role. Are you with me that you want?
That's just locked. Yeah, that's key.
Yeah, it better. It's got to be. And you know what? And I will bawl my eyes out when that guy wins too, because he is so good, and I can't wait to see him in a million things after this. I hope.
Yeah.
What do we think about supporting role?
I'm so happy with him.
Do we think it's going to be Angela Bassett?
You know, this is the category I'm not sure. I think Angela Bassett would be great just because I love Angela Bassett in general. I really don't want it to be Jamie Lee Curtis. I feel like so if we had to pick one of the two from Everything Everywhere All at Once, I would pick Stephanie over Jamie Lee. Stephanie Hsu, 1,000,000%.
Yeah, because she was phenomenal. Also, it's weird to me, like, Jamie Lee Curtis is very good in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Good.
But it was not, when I was finished watching the movie, she was not the person that I was like, that person deserves an Oscar. So I was like shocked when a lot of the nominations got, don't get me wrong, love Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah,
so I'm like,
too.
But that's where one of those where I was like, oh. But also, if we're playing it politically right now, I think Angela Bassett is owed an Academy Award that she has not received. But also,
I agree.
Not having seen The Whale or The Banshees yet, I still think Angela Bassett's performance as Ramonda and in Black Panther is phenomenal. Yeah. Like her two big scenes where she delivers the speech to the Congress or the piece, whatever it is they're doing, and then the other scene where she tells off Okoye in the council room are just masterclasses in acting. I think where it's just like you could tell from the trailer she was going to get an Academy Award nomination. And that's one of those things where you're like, boom. And that's where I'm like, what's crazy to me is Angela Bassett doesn't have an Oscar, right?
No, and that's what you think of, like, what's love got to do with it? Like,
Yeah.
that is the role where you would think she won Best Actress for that, but she didn't. I just watched How Stella Got Her Groove Back.
I was just going to say How Stella Got Her
I
Groove Back, or
loved it.
what, isn't she in Waiting to Exhale as well?
Yeah, Waiting to Exhale also. I just worry about the Marvel thing of it, and whether the Academy would,
be like, well, it's a superhero movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a superhero movie, and she is phenomenal in the movie. I'd be really happy if she won. I'd be really happy if Kerry Condon won. I loved Hong Chau in The Whale. Hong Chau was my favorite part of The Whale. Did you see The Menu?
I did see The Menu. I think The Menu is a better version of Triangle of Sadness.
Okay, so I will agree with you on that. I've been sitting on this because it's basically Triangle of Sadness, The Menu, and Glass Onion. I think they have really similar ideas. Yeah, that they're trying to like hit at. And I think out of those three movies, The Menu is my favorite. And I really like Triangle of Sadness. But there was something where I was just enjoying it the entire time. Like, I was having fun, and I thought it was really, really funny. Whereas like Triangle of Sadness, I thought from a distance was funny sometimes, like it's a little bit colder funny. It's not hitting emotionally.
No, Triangle of Sadness was definitely a comedy. I like it funny in terms of like, it's like, but I was talking to Craig about it because he watched it after me, and it took him like 3 days to watch it, and I was like, yeah, welcome to the longest movie ever. But it for me, it was like 2.5 hours, but it was like, I thought it had he said it best. There was a good 90-minute movie in there. And I think it was like too long. I felt like it was too up its own ass, if that makes sense. Like, I don't mean it in like a mean way.
15 minutes of throwing up?
It was so long of the throwing up and the vomiting. I
loved that.
Oh my God. So long. When she was like flopping between the toilet and the wall and the
flopping,
thing.
That was the moment where I was like, that's what I was waiting for. I wanted it to get that gross.
It was like, I mean, I liked what it said, but I also think I hated the end. And like, I'm not somebody who is anti-ambiguous ending, but it was one of those, it wasn't even The Rock, which I don't want to like spoil it for anybody watching, so I'll be very kind of vague here. It wasn't when she's holding the rock, it was when the guy was running through the woods. And I was like, why have this one last shot? Like, I would have been fine if they had cut it right before that, but that one shot, and it's like, my problem is I think I watched it and I was like, the Menu is a far superior commentary on the exact same thing that this movie is on. Yeah. Where it was, I also think like Inception has a way better ambiguous ending than this movie, where the ambiguity isn't relevant to the end. It's like, it either is in his head or it's not in his head, but it doesn't necessarily change the outcome of where the movie goes for you, right? Because it's still kind of the same outcome. He's still with the kids, right? Either way. And so it's like one of those where it's almost infuriating in a negative way for me. And I get it. I get why you would like it. I said, for me, it felt like a poor man's Wes Anderson movie. Like, it had that same sort of pretentious like commentary to it.
It's Ruben Östlund. Of course it's pretentious.
But not in like, I don't think it was delivered in quite as, for me at least, a very visual. Like, I liked the beginning. Like, I liked the conversations they were having in the elevator where he's opening the door and it's closing. Like, but then like after that, I was just like, I think I'm just tired of watching movies about rich people and being like, yeah, they do suck. And like, I get it. Like, the other person needs to take over, but it like, I don't know. The last part was better than any of it, but
yeah, I liked how the dynamics changed in that third part of the movie. I felt like that was really interesting, and it felt very sociological, and like how power dynamics would shift, and how the way we behave as a society is always going to be just culturally based. And when the situation changes, then the whole power structure changes. And I thought that was really, it's a very obvious comedy. Like, it's a very like, these are very obvious symbols and points, but I didn't mind it. And sometimes I do mind when movies are super obvious, but this one I liked. It wasn't like my favorite movie of the year, and it wasn't my favorite out of this list, but I still did enjoy it. But Hong Chow in The Menu, getting back to like that category, she knocked me over.
Wait, was she in The Whale too? Is that what you just said?
She's in The Whale. Yeah, she's in The Whale.
Oh, she's great in The Menu.
She plays. Yeah, she's great. And I felt like she actually could have been nominated for The Menu also. Like she could have gone in either direction. Oh, can I say one person I would have added in supporting actor?
Yeah.
Is Bill Skarsgård in Barbarian.
Oh my God. That movie was so good. So good.
I love that movie.
Talk about a movie where my jaw was on the ground. Like having been like, what? Yeah.
Yep. Talk about horror never getting anything. Like that's a horror movie where I feel like Bill Skarsgård, he could have gotten a nomination so easily because he plays it in such a specific way. And it was just like a perfect line of creepy and like the sweetest guy you've ever met in your entire life. Like you're like, I don't know where to take this. And he was reading Charlotte Bronte. And then I was like, I'm done. I'm in love with this character. Like this is the greatest character. So I feel like his character was so important to that movie and like setting the entire story up. I 100% think he should have been nominated.
Talk about a movie too that had like a great social commentary like built into it as well. Like when she's like trying to tell the cops at the gas station and they're just like, lady, calm down. And I was like, oh, is it because she's a woman? Is it because she's black? Is it because she's poverty?
Exactly.
I was like, there are 3 things happening right now. Commentary where I was just like, oh my God.
It's still fun.
Oh yeah, it didn't beat you over the head. You were just like, oh, they're not going to believe her because of all the obvious things. And you're like, and then you think, oh, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why didn't anybody question the weirdo guy that was bringing things into his basement? But then when this one girl that's like this very intelligent woman is like, help. And they're like, well, we're in the bad neighborhood. And you're like, oh, talk about a movie like Barbarian and Menu are the two of the movies that I watched on HBO Max that I was just like, oh my God. Like these movies were just these like solid, quick movies. I think The Menu accomplished exactly what Triangle Sadness was doing, but in like a better, more succinct way. To the point where like
faster, more concise.
I had friends who were were offended by it
too.
In The Menu.
Yeah, in The Menu. I like the acting in The Menu. I thought Ray Fiennes. I thought
oh my God, so good.
I thought Nicholas Hoult. Like Nicholas Hoult played that guy so perfectly.
When he was just like not acknowledging anything that was going on and it was all about the food stuff and you're like, I want to punch you in the face but you're like, but that's good, you know?
The twist was so good. Like I really liked it. Yeah, there were so many good horror movies that never get nominated ever. And I didn't see Pearl. And that's another one.
I've heard Pearl's great. And I know. I've heard. I didn't see X though either.
I saw X and I loved X.
Because somebody else very famous is in X, where they were like, oh yeah, they shined in X. Yeah, who was just in? Jenna Ortega, and I was like, what? And I'm like, that's why I gotta watch it.
And she's great in the movie. Really.
Yeah.
Really.
She was very good.
You would like it.
In the new Scream movie too. I mean, she was great in Wednesday, even though I'm of the mind where I'm like, Wednesday's okay, the show, but she is a standout in that. She is phenomenal.
Yeah. I didn't see that.
She's
TV. You know me in TV.
I know. It's like, it's fun. She's great. I get why it succeeds, but like she is the anchor of the show and she is so perfectly a Wednesday Addams that it was like, man, talk about a role that like some people are born to play. So it's like,
me first time. Yeah.
We don't have to go through like every category in here, obviously. But what I want to talk about the animated feature because
which I loved.
I haven't seen any of these except for Turning Red.
Oh wait, what?
Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, not that awful Pinocchio. Marcel the Shell with shoes on. Yeah, oh my God, so bad. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. I'm going to watch Puss in Boots is my I am desperately going to try and watch that before.
You must. But my favorite of these is actually Marcel the Shell.
I've heard it's good. I've heard it's so good.
Fan. It is. So talk about like heartwarming. because for as much as I like super like dark and broody and violent movies, I like something that connects to humanity. And this movie, I was crying at the end of this movie, and the voice work from Jenny Slate is just spot on. And Isabella Rossellini, her voice work is incredible in the movie. And I didn't even tell you this, I just found out Isabella Rossellini lives a half an hour away from me.
What?
Yeah, dude, I was like,
oh my God, you're gonna see her at like a market someday.
She has a farm 30 minutes from my house. Like,
oh my God.
She lives just like directly south of me. Yeah, and it's a bed and breakfast. And
she was in Julia, another show that you won't watch because it's a show.
No, well, I know, yeah, because it's a TV show, and I'm a movie snob. But yeah, Marcel the Shell. I love Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and I loved Puss in Boots. Like that.
I've heard Pinocchio. I thought it was fine. It was like it's one of those movies. I love a good generational trauma movie. We already know this. I talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it was nice that like I've heard it's very specific to where and when it is. But like I am also like I'm not a 13-year-old girl, so it's one of those movies where I was like I very much appreciate this movie being out there for people that need the movie. You know what I mean? Like not every movie has to be for everybody because like I'm trying to think of something like Love, Simon, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a gay movie where I'm like, that movie's for me. But like Love, Simon, I would even argue is a movie for parents of gay or queer like teenagers and stuff. Because I think it's really what I take away from that movie is like that's how you react, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
but Turning Red, same thing, I guess. You know, like that's for the parents, right?
The only thing about Turning Red was there was something in the ending that didn't sit 100% right with me, but it would be like a spoiler to say what it is and what happens. But yeah, I liked the movie, and then there was something in the end where I was like, "This, I just don't love it. I don't love where this story goes, but I like the setup of the story."
Yeah, now the Ampliverse is in here saying Love, Simon is for Ryno. You've heard it here first. I love Simon. I love the score of Love, Simon. I love the movie of Love, Simon. I do not like romantic things, but I love that. I love Simon. I will bawl my eyes out watching Jennifer Garner give the speech to Simon in that movie where she's like, I need you to hear this. And I was like, I can't do this. And I will be a mess. And when the dad's in the driveway with him and he's like, all this time we wasted, and I'm like, I wish my parents loved me like this. Like, I mean, my mom loves me, it's fine. But like
I feel like we said so much about parents and family during our talk right now.
I know, we just as therapy.
But all of these movies, that's what it is. So yeah.
Wait. Turning Red for me, the biggest thing that comes out of Turning Red for me is that every time I am in a Disney gift shop at Walt Disney World, they always have the giant May panda that's like this big, and I have almost bought it 3 times because it's huge, and it's like a pillow, and I'm always like,
Stitch huge?
Yeah, it's big, and I am like, I want it because I think she's so cute when she's the panda. But also I was like, I'd cuddle with this on my little bed that's over here in my loft. And like, I have almost gotten it twice with like a cast room discount. And I was like, no, you don't like the movie that much. Don't be a poser. But I'm also like, but I love the panda. And I love pandas. So I'm like, I'm like, I want a stuffed animal. Yeah. I don't know. I can't. Yeah. I say this now and I'm worried now that someone's going to watch this and I'm going to get like 15 plushes. But, I do really want to see. I saw the first Puss in Boots.
This is not that. It's basically Into the Spider-Verse animation. Like the fight sequences in this movie are so incredible looking, and then it's actually about something. Like when you go to watch the movie, you'll be like, "Wow, this has a much deeper meaning than I ever thought a movie that's called Puss in Boots would have."
Do I have to have watched all the Shrek movies?
No, absolutely not. You don't have to watch a single Shrek, Puss in Boots, Donkey. I don't even know if there's a Donkey movie. Like
there should be, but there isn't.
Just watch this one movie. There isn't. But I would just watch that one movie and you'll be good. and you'll be happy.
Do you feel like there's a movie that wasn't on this list that should have been on this list in terms of like the animation?
For animation, the only movie that, and I didn't see it yet, but I heard a lot of people talk about it, was Wendell and Wild, and I am very interested to see it. It seems very like different and weird, and I like more of that stop motion, so I feel like that could be on the list. But also, I didn't see The Sea Beast, so I'm not sure if that was worth anything either. You didn't see any of the international, right? I just saw one. I just saw All Quiet. Yeah.
No,
I really liked All Quiet.
That was on Netflix, right?
Yeah, that's on Netflix. It's
okay.
Do you feel like that's going to be a hard movie to watch?
Yes, because it's in German, right?
It is in German. You can get it dubbed.
But I should watch it with subtitles, right? Yeah, that's the thing. I'd rather hear it in the language and read. Good.
Yeah, I mean that's what I did, but it's not as it's not what you think it's going to be. It's very modern. It's like very fast moving. It's very emotional. It's very hard hitting. It is not, and it's got the best score. It's got such a good score.
I feel like not to be weird, but like I did like Lightyear. Did you watch Lightyear?
Did you say you liked it?
Yeah, I'm not saying it should be in this nomination, but I liked it, right? I don't know. I'm trying to think of other animated movies.
Like I liked
Did I buy it?
Lightyear. I thought it was good. I didn't see Strange World. Did you see that?
No, but also like the marketing of that movie was never like, oh yeah, I can't wait to watch this marketing. Like I do want to watch it, but it's like I'll watch it on Disney. Oh, I did buy Lightyear. It's up here. Look at me. I also have Ford versus Ferrari up here with the Eternal. See, I talk about movies and I haven't very clearly unopened Lightyear, but gotta enter this for my movie rewards. I have the unbearable weight of massive talent is right on above it.
Love.
I'm trying to think. I feel like there's a movie that, you know what I mean? There's always that movie that like slips through the cracks. It's like, why was A Quiet Place never nominated for anything, right? Isn't that movie great?
Oh, I agree. I love A Quiet Place. I love the second one too. I love Cillian Murphy in that movie, but don't even start me on Cillian Murphy because I will not stop. And then Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Oh, girl, I cannot wait for that.
Do you know it comes out the last day that we're in Florida? Like Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Barbie, I look forward to. Oh God, yeah. How do you even choose? Are those the same weekend?
It's the same day.
Oh my God.
I don't know why anyone would think this was a good idea.
Yeah, what the hell?
I'm just gonna watch like Oppenheimer and then go directly into Barbie.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of when I watched The Dark Knight and went directly into Mamma Mia, and I was like, "Well, that was an awful combination." Yeah.
Why would you not do it the other way around?
I don't know.
Mamma Mia and then go in.
I remember sitting in Mamma Mia and being like, I'm so depressed about that other movie I just watched. Like,
no. And then everyone's just singing and dancing.
Yeah, and you're like,
how do you feel about screenplays? Are you like into?
Yeah, no. Hold on. Let me pull that one up. I zoomed in too far on this other one. Screenplays. Why is it not zooming out? Come on now, computer. Come on, technology. Are we talking adapted, original? Where are we at?
I think adapted. Well, actually, adapted would be good because we definitely disagree about one movie on this list.
Top Gun Maverick? Oh, Women Talking. Okay,
yeah,
we haven't talked about it, and we should do it. And you as a woman,
yeah, we should.
Well,
I think we have very different views on this one movie.
Okay. I liked Women Talking more than I liked Triangle of Sadness. I did not like Women Talking as a film, however. I think it would be a phenomenal stage play. I don't like the assembly of the movie, essentially. I feel like as soon as it got into something that felt meaty a part of the discussion, it would do those cutaways, and it would be like boom, 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 and the music would play, and then it would like completely, I feel like, take the wind out of the sails, and then it would come back like a minute later. You would have
wanted to just like stick with that conversation and not have these kind of flashbacks that are.
Yeah, no, I I did like the juxtaposition of having them talk, and then it was like the older woman, and she said that they're too big for my mouth, the teeth, and then it cuts to her with like the blood coming out of her mouth, and I was like, that was powerful. I thought.
Yes.
There's some of that, but like I felt like at a certain point during the movie, it was kind of doing the same thing, like where I was like, okay, I want to stick with this conversation, and I want to stay with the conversation because I feel like we're finally making leeway. I thought what's crazy is this movie that's all about like kind of these women taking the power and everything. The best performance in the movie was the man in the movie, which is awful as me as a man say that. But what's his Ben Whishaw? Is that who it is?
Ben Whishaw. But Ben Whishaw is just an incredible actor.
He's good in everything, though. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good in everything. And I felt like his character was really important. Like I came out of that movie and I was like, this is 12 Angry Men, but for women. Like that's what it felt like.
And they were angry.
Just women. Yeah, women in a room and they're figuring this thing out. And I never felt bored watching it. I didn't feel like the conversation was dragging. I love Rooney Mara. She's one of my favorite
Rooney Mara was very good in the movie. Yeah.
And I felt like she was actually very underrated because everybody was talking about Jessie Buckley and Claire Foy, and they were very good, but they had like the biggest performances and they had the most like diverse opinions. But I felt like Rooney Mara was more subtle. Like she had a more subtle, relatable. The angry one was Jessie Buckley.
Okay, Claire Foy was the other one that was
they're
like
both angry. Claire Foy is the one who's like, we're staying and fighting. Like that's her position.
Well, who was the one who at the end was like a little late to leaving because she maced the son?
That's Claire Foy.
Okay, so I liked her in the movie a lot. You know who else is in the movie too? Who was in? She's like Swedish maybe. She was in. Oh my God. What's that alien movie with Michael Fassbender that's not Alien?
The Prometheus?
Yeah. Who was the girl in Prometheus that isn't Charlize Theron? You know what I'm talking about? She wasn't in the second one.
You mean Noomi Rapace?
Yes. Isn't she in this movie too?
No.
Okay. Well, I made that up. Hold on. There was someone in the movie when I looked at the cast list, I was like, who's that? Who's that in this movie? Also, Frances McDermott has like one sentence in the whole movie.
Yeah, I know. I think she's just executive producer. And then they were just like, I'll just be in this scene. Rooney Mara. Play the worst character in the the movie.
Yeah, the one who's like...
Did you like... See, I
lied.
The way it was
Naomi
shot.
Rapace is not in this movie. I'm sorry.
No.
I don't know where I get that from. The whole movie, I was like, where is she? I don't recognize her in any of these women. That whole movie I was looking for the entire time. I have issues.
I just saw her in Lamb. That was a movie.
Oh, I remember the preview. No, I didn't see it, but I was like, this movie looks insane.
It was interesting. I don't think you would like it.
Okay, actually, you just reminded me of something when you said Lamb, though. Triangle of Sadness to me reminded me of very much the same reasons why I hate Midsommar.
Yes, and that I love Midsommar. That's kind of like our joke, right? Is that
of course you do.
That is one of my very favorite movies. Is Midsommar.
That's my impression of Midsommar.
Why did you think they were similar?
They had that same sort of like... I feel like when the dialogue was delivered, there would be these like... They'd say something, the scene would stay wide or something. There'd be like this kind of a lot of empty energy. Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminded me a lot of like, specifically the cliff scene in Midsommar. Like a little bit of the talking and then like nothing happens. Or like... That was Midsommar. It was just like talking, nothing would happen. Talking, nothing would happen. And it was like, it had that same sort of, I don't know, Swedishness about it. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I do like Swedish movies. So yes, no, and that makes sense because Ruben Östlund also, he's Swedish or Norwegian. Or
checks out. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that is just not for you. This is just not a...
I think it's not. Kim's husband loves Midsommar, so the joke is always like, I'm gonna bury him in a bear suit someday or something. Like I hate this movie so much. I love a good reference to it, but I hate it.
Yeah, it is very memeable, that movie. But you didn't feel emotional when you were watching that movie? Like I felt everything for her, for that character.
For Women Talking or Midsummer?
No, for Midsummer.
Florence Pugh, I think she was obnoxious to me after a certain point. But here's my thing. I'm not in favor of anybody in that movie. I hated every character in the movie. So especially her boyfriend was awful.
Through this trauma that was.
I know. I did feel bad for her, but then I was like, hey, maybe don't go on a vacation to this weird place. Like, maybe just deal with it with a therapist.
I know, but you're not making good decisions in that state of mind.
Hey, she became the queen of the people, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But
are we talking about Midsummer? You hate that?
I don't know. Women talking. I thought it's based on like a true story or a book?
Yeah. It is. It's based on a book. It's based on a true story. She adapted everything so that they were Mennonites in America, because I want to say maybe Bolivia.
It was in Canada originally.
It's in a different country where this happened.
I think it's Canada. I think it was something about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I liked the way it was unsaturated, the color. Like, I actually thought that worked, but that's something that a lot of people hated it. Yeah.
It's funny because Craig literally said, I hate the color timing of this movie. And I said, oh my God, it was the first thing I noticed. I was like, why? Why not just make it black and white? But I guess that's the Mennonite thing, right? They don't have a lot of color.
Yeah, no, all they have, I believe, is light, right? Like, they have electricity for light and that's it.
Yeah.
But their whole life is kind of devoid of light and life. And that's why I like that desaturated color. I know everyone hated it.
I thought the Rooney Mara and the who did I say? What's his name? The Ben Whishaw.
The Ben Whishaw, yeah.
Yeah, I thought their story was good. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just, when I kind of in this, it's not for me to decide because I'm not the filmmaker or anything like that. I think for me, I was like texting Kim when I was watching it, and I was like, I think for me, I would have loved a version of this movie where it played out a little more like the Steve Jobs movie with Michael Fassbender, where it was a lot more like quick, snappy. Why are we leaving? Why are we staying? What are we doing? What are we doing? And I get where it's also like, it's kind of amazing that these women were able to come up with structure. Essentially, they created structure out of nothing with no education, which is also like, I don't know, maybe that's part of it too, where I was like, this is all so messed up. All of it is so messed up.
I think also the way like you're talking about the conversations and sort of the slowness of the conversations, that is how conversations with women feel. Like and I. You're
telling me I've been having one for an hour and a half. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Being in meetings with a lot of women, to get to a point, it takes hours and hours and hours, and you kind of go in circles a lot. So to me, the structure actually made a lot of sense. And if it went that quickly, it wouldn't feel like an authentic conversation that women would have with each other.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. I could see that.
And
because
also, what is the movie? Is the movie made for you? I don't know. Like that movie is definitely. I think it's made for women, and I think, but it's also made for a certain type of man, like it's to kind of like listen to what women's perspective is. And you're a person who listens anyway, so maybe it was a little.
I think that's part of it. Also, I was like, as a queer individual, it's like, man, straight men are awful. It was one of those where I was like, they are terrible, aren't they? Especially like you get toward the end and then that husband came home and like beat the two of them, and I was just like, oh God. I'm like, these ladies. I guess also the hard part for me is one of those, when you see somebody in a bad situation and you're just like, yeah, get out. Like, easier said than done.
No, I know.
And also easier said than done when
No.
you're not educated, when you don't have the resources, and you decide to do it as a group and you stay together. And so I thought like toward the end where it shows how many there were too, that was kind of like powerful too. And
that's what it was. The last shot in the movie I thought was incredibly powerful. And I saw that movie with my husband, and I was I was crying at the end of that movie. And he really liked the movie a lot, but I don't think it had that same emotional reaction as when I was watching it. Like it just that is such an unbelievably difficult thing that they choose to do.
I think for me too, also it's like I'm kind of exhausted by watching. It's hard to say. It's like what you said. I think it's who was the movie for? I think what you said, obviously being for women. I think it's also like I am so tired of these like religious cults essentially, but at the same time it's like they're born and raised in it, so they don't know anything other than like they are basically like we have a choice, we leave, and in their minds they're like that means we burn in hell, but at least we live a life. Or something, or we stay and forgive and we don't live this life. And that I'm a firm believer of that. We live the life we're in. Like that, the ultimate sin, I think, is to not live. Like, that's why I think when we get caught up on all these things about trying to ban who's going to the bathroom and what bathroom and all that stuff. And I was like, we are on a goddamn rock floating through outer space right now, people. Get your priorities in order, for crying out loud. We are all just stardust trapped in sacks of skin. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's the part where I'm just like, and I'm so tired of people pretending like it's something debatable. It's not debatable. Just be nice to each other. And that's, I think, so I think I'm just like, exhausted because there are so many people who like the women should stay, the women should do this, and I was just like, good Lord, man, look at what those women did. Like I don't know, it's these like things where like people don't believe in living the life they're in and they're living for the next life. And I'm not here to crap on anybody's religion or whatever, but it's just one of those things. I think the ultimate thing you can do, the thing we know the most right now is here and now. The things I can touch, the things I can feel, the people I can affect here, the people whose lives I could make better right here. How do you not know we're already in the second thing that you think that we're in? Like, you're living for a second life. How do you know you're not in the second life right now? And this is the test, you know what I mean? And that's where I was like, we could make life so much easier for so many people, and we don't. And so many people don't. And I think I'm just kind of, I think I'm burned out a little bit on stuff like that. So I think part of it's that. But like, I think female empowerment stories are very important. That's why I told you, we talked about She Said. I loved She Said because I loved it being about these women who wouldn't stop, who helped these other women and this thing. And I love stuff like that. I really do. I think for me, it was just like, I don't know. I think it's just an assembly thing. I think the way it was assembled, like I liked it. I described it. I don't remember if it was to you or I might have told you, but I also said it to Craig where I was like, I had a master's degree student, an MBA student teaching one of my film classes who showed us very specific types of movies, and she would have shown us this movie. And I hated every movie she showed us. And so I think right when it started and I felt like that, I was like, well, now I'm lost because I know this one awful teacher I had would have showed it to us who wasn't really even a teacher. And not to say that reflects on the movie. That's more of like my experiences inflicting in the viewing experience. You know what I mean? That's another part of movies that we never talk about too. Is what we bring to it with us.
Whatever experience. Exactly. And what's funny is like listening to you talk about this now, there are so many similarities between women talking and everything everywhere all at once. It's just the delivery is so incredibly different. Like, you have the ability to change your life. You have the ability to like look around and say, this isn't the person I want to be anymore. And you can do that at any age. You could do that at any moment. But the difficulty when you're in, whether it's financial difficulty, education, whatever it is, that is going to prevent people from living the life that they actually want to live. Also, just like fear of fitting in, triangle of sadness, wanting to be rich when they don't even know why they want to be rich. They just feel like they're missing something.
Also, the rich who can't do anything. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I feel like these movies are very diverse, very different, but they have this very similar like line that's connecting them all together. And at the end of the day, it's like, what's your taste? Like, what's the type of movie you like? Because they're all saying, in a way, kind of similar things.
No, I think I think that's a really great way to put it, because it does feel, I think that's very interesting, and, sometimes I feel like the Academy will read the description of the movie, watch a trailer for the movie, and then vote for the movie instead of watching the movie, right? And I think that's how we end up with some stuff where we're like, oh, that movie should be in here, or that movie should be in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like the Batman. Oh, you watched the trailer, but you didn't watch the movie. Like
that's so many people, because Jennifer Lawrence famously said she was never going to watch Phantom Thread because she thought it was a certain type of movie, and she's voting for Best Picture. And it's like, if you actually watch this movie, what it's saying, you would agree with 1,000,000%. But she just judged it before she even knew what the movie was about.
That's insane. That should be like illegal. Like, you shouldn't. Illegal. That's the thing that bugs me, is that like when you take on a membership in the Academy of Motion Picture, like you should. You should be required to like be like, yes, I watched this movie. Like, because otherwise it's kind of like you shouldn't. The award is to what you feel like is the best picture. So like, not having watched all the movies, like you don't. That's why I like doing what we're doing right now, and I like the ballots, because I will force myself, because sometimes there is a movie I wouldn't have watched otherwise. Like,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I end up sometimes, a lot of times, like really enjoying the movie and being like, wow, I'm so happy I watched this. Like, and then other times you're like, oh, I'm glad I watched it, but I don't know that it would stick with me. Like Coda, like we talked about earlier, where I'm like, I'm not unhappy I watched it. I don't think it's a bad movie. Do I think it was the best movie that was made that year? I don't think so. Like technicality wise, like, are we talking about how everything comes together? Or are you just picking the movie just because like, oh, it was about this one thing and that's why, and I read about it on a thing and I saw the trailer and it looked good, and it was good. It was a good movie. I'm not knocking that movie, but I forget what the other nominations were that year, but I'm like, I remember being like,
The Power of the Dog.
Which I still
Power of the Dog was
seen.
like the movie that was, you still haven't seen it.
I know, but I do want to see it. I do like a Western. Well, I like Westerns, but I also heard it's not contemporary Western, but I've also heard it's about like very toxic masculinity. So I do also like movies that are about like that. Like, I like movies as long as it's acknowledging that it's toxic masculinity, not just being toxic.
Oh, this is definitely acknowledging it. Like, this is and even the characters have an awareness of it. I just got it on 4K, the Criterion edition.
I'm trying to look through my movies now and be like, what else did I see that I was like, oh, don't you think some things like this Well, we talked about horror never gets the nod for anything. It's like,
no, never.
It never ever, because like, I feel like we're living in the golden age of horror movies right now. I'm not even being like facetious. Like, every year we've gotten a really solid, like The Black Phone, I thought was fantastic. Yes. Like, very good movie. Like,
and it's like a lot of, there's the A24 horror, right? But then there's also the more traditional horror, and I feel like a lot of the traditional horror has been very good also, like Barbarian and X and things like that. Like, they're not all this super heady psychological kind of a movie. They can just be like fun horror movies. And even like, I didn't love the Scream movie from last year. Actually, what you were saying about the new one that just came out, that sounded a lot more interesting to me, and like,
it is
moving the setting seemed like a much better idea. Like, let's move it out of what we're used to seeing. But I love movies like that are just like fun horror comedies.
I think you'd really enjoy.
Did you see Skinamarink?
No, I saw like the poster. I thought it was fake.
I didn't see it yet. Ken keeps telling me I need to see this movie.
Yeah, I don't trust Ken's opinion about any of that stuff, though, because Ken will be like, you need to watch this like weird movie that was assembled in a dumpster in the middle of Indonesia, and you're like, what? Like, I'm not saying that there can't be a great movie.
House?
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude, sometimes it'll be like, oh, this and that.
You
and
never
I'll be like,
watched that movie, though.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But like, I'll just sometimes be like, I can understand what a movie's doing and attempting, but it doesn't mean the movie's good. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, I admire what it was doing, but it does not mean it's good. It's a good movie. Ken does not separate the two.
And it doesn't mean that it hits for you also. But Ken loves the art of things, which I really appreciate also, like the figures and the kind of technical and the craft element of it.
Well, you know what I think? Like, how come? Like, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Are you going to talk about the craft movies, Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board?
I was going to talk about Babylon.
Oh, I didn't see it. Because I'm shocked it's on any of these lists because all the reviews for it weren't great. And then it was one of those movies. But it's a movie about Hollywood. So, like, Hollywood loves movies about Hollywood, right?
This is not a good view of Hollywood. This is a pretty bad view of Hollywood. It's I'd be really interested for you to watch it. That would be a movie that I would really want to know what you think, because I felt simultaneously like I hate this movie and I love it. Like, and I never have that feeling when I watch something. Like, I feel like I'm getting assaulted, but it's making points that I like, but I also hate this.
Do you like Damien, what's his name?
Well, Shazam, well.
I mean, I know you like La La Land.
But I love Whiplash. I love First Man. This is like anti-La La Land, this movie. This is like everything that La La Land is, do the opposite, but then plagiarize the entire score for La La Land.
God, I hope I own La La Land. I thought I bought it, but now I'm like, I can't see it anywhere on my shelf. I'm like, You know what's crazy? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we should do a whole discussion about horror movies that should be nominated for things like
that.
Like,
I would
where's James McAvoy for Split, you know?
Oh.
I don't even know. That could be controversial, what I just said. But Halloween, where's Jamie Lee Curtis for the Halloween remake? The modern, the first one, not the other two.
Oh, for the first one, I was like,
for the first one. Yeah, God, no, not for the other two. For this one.
But no, definitely. Yeah.
Not for the first of the remakes, not the other two. When she's old Laurie, but not... The other two are awful.
But like,
it's the first movie where you're like, I've seen The Final Girl, where it's like, what's the repercussions on her life, right? Like, how do you recover from this sort of a thing? Like, do you live a normal life? Probably not, you know? Yeah. Doctor Sleep? Where's the Doctor Sleep live?
Love Doctor Sleep. You know anything with Mike Flanagan? Mike Flanagan is one of the best horror directors. He's one of the only people I'll watch their TV shows for.
I did watch The Haunting of Hill House, like, finally. When it was the Halloween Horror Nights house, I went through the house and I was like, oh God, I don't want to spoil the show. And then I started watching the show, and then I went through the house and I was keep watching the show, and then like I was on the second to last episode of the show and I went through the house again and I was like, and I figured something out in the house where I was like, oh no. And so like the thing with the little girl in the woods, yeah. I realized it right before, because I was like, oh no, that girl's in the house. And I was like, oh.
Because in the house.
And so, I figured it out. Because the Halloween Horror Nights house had like the mom with the tray and the girl was on the ground. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And that was great. I haven't watched any of the other ones though.
Okay, but did you that one episode where it's like that one take for that's
oh
like
my
good
God.
Movie.
That episode, but then also like
spectacular.
The episode after that is like one of the scariest moments in a show I've ever watched, where the two sisters are driving the car and then the ghost is like comes right up between them and screams at the top of her lungs. I was watching it on an iPad in my bed and I did this like, whoa, like I violently shook to the point where the dogs were like, what the hell's going on?
Scary.
Like, yeah, I was like,
it is such a scary movie.
It takes a little bit. Also, I didn't realize the guy was Elliot from
yes,
E.T.
He's Elliot.
And I was like,
he's in like everything with Mike Flanagan.
I know. That makes me want to watch it more, because I was like, oh, I love it. I love that Elliot's doing stuff.
He's in all the I think you would really like Midnight Mass, because what you were just saying about women talking and I think you would like the way religion is used in Midnight Mass, because it's making a very specific point.
Yeah. I mean, I love a movie. I love something. You know what I loved? The Mist. Do you remember that, where they're all in the grocery store?
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that The Mist, or is that The Fog? That's The Mist.
That's The Mist.
heartbreaking, heart-wrenching ending of a movie.
Yep.
Like one of the worst endings of a movie I've ever seen in my life. But just devastating, I should say, in terms of an ending. But one of those movies where you're like, it's so real. It's so real. Like, and we are living like we live in that grocery store. The United States is the grocery store right now. And that is where I was like, it's terrifying because that is exactly what's happening.
So ahead of its time. Mm-hmm. Right? Like it's a movie that you watch it today and you're just like, wow, this is exactly what this world is.
Yeah. And that's the scariest part. I'm afraid of things like in War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise, the Steven Spielberg one, like when the guy's like reaching through the windshield, trying to pull the windshield back. I'm afraid of mass hysteria because that is very real.
I can't go see concerts. Did you know that? I can't go in like big stadiums because I have a gigantic fear of something happening, everyone running down and just like stamping me to oblivion. And that's
why I can't do floor seats. I'll only sit. I have to sit in a section where you're near a door, where it's like, so that's, I'm that same way.
I need to be by an exit. Yeah. That's so funny. But yeah, I'm terrified. 28 Days Later is the same kind of thing. Like 28 Days Later is that like men are the scariest thing in that movie, you know, and that's why
I feel like that's a great companion piece to women talking.
Yeah.
I mean, like truly, it really is because it is like, it's very Lord of the Flies, right? It's very like that instinct of being just like, I don't know. I don't mean to be like blanket, like men are awful, because obviously I don't think I'm awful, but like, but it is like, there's a type of person, there's a type of thing that, that just craves that power. They thrive on making people feel less than and smaller than, and that's kind of like the dynamic of that was happening in women. I don't know. And ultimately
get that power, like in 28 Days Later, like the guy who's the cook, do you remember? He is the more feminine character, but then at the end, he's able to like start killing and he thinks like he has more power and he can act a certain way. So it's like, what happens to people, once again, when they're put in different situations, like Triangle of Sadness. Did you also know 28 Days Later, you can't even find that movie anymore? It's not on digital. It's not, you can't rent it. It's hard to buy. Like, there's nothing left on Amazon for like the DVD. I think you can get the DVD. You can't get the Blu-ray anymore.
Oh, shoot.
This is blowing my mind because to me, that is one of the best movies of the early 2000s.
Shoot. Yeah, I actually
panic bought it. I panic bought it from Japan because I saw that there was one copy left in Japan, and you can get it on eBay, but
what? I wonder why that happened.
They're all like previously used. I don't know.
Oh yeah, free international delivery. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Isn't it?
Yeah, now that makes me, I don't think I own it. That's why I'm like, I mean, I might. I have to look. I'm at that point now where I'm like, do I own it? Because I inherited a bunch of DVDs from somebody. So I'm like, I don't know if it was in that stack of movies or not. But that's the other part where I was like, did I buy La La Land? Because like, it's not right here. And I'm like, most of my newer movies are like here. So like, if it was bought in the last couple of years.
I feel like you would own that.
I feel like I do own it because I feel like I would have bought it when it came out. We talk about it so much that I'm like, I don't know though. Maybe I was just waiting for a sale for forever.
If you don't have,
it's going to stress me out now.
I'm buying that movie for you.
It's going to stress me out now. I own The Nice Guys. It's right here. Have I watched that again since I've seen it the one time? No, but I do like that movie.
Well, you should. It's one of the best comedies.
I think it was like one of those like super underrated movies that like nobody saw, but everybody should have. And it's got the little kid from Iron Man in it. And Insidious. Speaking of great horror movies. Have you seen Insidious?
I've never... No, I have. I've seen Insidious.
Insidious 1 and 2, I would say. You don't need to see 3 and 4.
Yeah, I've seen both.
But there's a new one coming out this year, and the kid's grown up, and he's in the movie, and Patrick Wilson is directing the movie. And so that's why I'm like very excited. I love
Patrick Wilson.
I do too. Because I love the Conjuring movies too, and I'm like...
Yeah. Did you ever see Little Children?
No.
Oh, he's so good in that. Should we do original screenplay?
Yeah, let's do that too. Wait, so we have an original screenplay. There's The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah. I feel like
I think the Banshees.
A clear winner. Yeah.
I think Banshees, right?
I mean, for me, I really think Banshees has to win because Martin McDonagh is a writer. Like in his heart, like he is this incredible writer, and he never won a screenplay award. Like he has won an Academy Award, but he won it for a short film that he did. He never won it for Three Billboards. He didn't win it for In Bruges.
He won the Golden Globe, though, right?
He deserves a screenwriting. Yes, he won the Golden Globe, but I feel like that's meaningless.
I know.
The Golden Globe.
Yeah, I know.
want the Academy Award.
Like that's like
3 people voted for the Golden Globe. Like I want the Academy Award for him.
Yeah, I have a feeling like if they're going to spread it around and try and make it being like, okay, well, this deserves that and this deserves that. I don't know. Yeah, that's
hope
also
so.
The thing, like, who's voting, you know?
I feel like I would not give it for The Fabelmans. Triangle of Sadness, I would not give it for that. Everything Everywhere, it's a great concept, but I don't think the script is that tight as Banshees is.
It's not a talky movie. It's not like I always think like a screenplay. It's like you want that thick dialogue in there.
Dialogue.
It doesn't have that.
Exactly.
As much as I love Everything Everywhere All at Once and how poignant it can be and how, you know, whatever. I don't think it relies on the. I think it's more of a complementary to like what's being said, but more of what you're seeing than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so reliant on the visuals and the emotions and things like that. Yeah. Oh, so Banshees.
I think Banshees. I put my money on Banshees. For adapted screenplay, it's probably going to be All Quiet on the Western Front, but
I think it's going to be women talking. Because, and you do have to think about it like this. There is no female director who's been nominated, right? So it kind of makes sense to give Sarah Polley a screenplay award because a lot of people thought she would get nominated for Best Director. I actually don't think she should have been nominated for Best Director. I thought Charlotte, what is her name? Who did After Sun? Charlotte something. She should have been nominated. Like her direction in that movie is incredible, but I think it's going to be women talking. I think it's really weird that Top Gun Maverick is nominated for adapted
think
screenplay.
So too. I kind of think it's insane, but I do appreciate.
And I like it. Did you like it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Especially since I don't think I've watched the original since I was a little kid, so I can't even. I went in though being like, oh, I didn't even need to watch the original, really. Like I just had to have an idea of what it was about, I guess. But like they summed it all up themselves. But I thought it was a great. I appreciate that Top Gun is getting the attention it deserves for what it did for the film industry. Yeah. Like it definitely deserves like a Medal of Honor or something like that.
Yeah.
And I hope that spreads to when the new Mission Impossible movie comes out too.
Yes. I'm very excited for that.
Oh, I cannot wait.
And I'm excited for Guardians. Are you
I think Guardians is going to be so emotional. I think because that trailer you can see somebody is not doing well and you're just like, I don't know. I don't know if I can handle it, you know, like, but I'm very excited.
It's hard to see that in a movie theater because it is going to be like a crying movie. Mm-hmm. And whenever I see a Marvel movie, someone is talking and screaming or on their phone or something. Yeah.
The last time I had like a good experience with that was like Endgame because people were like, oh, I'm not going to mess around in this movie. But you're like, not every movie's
right.
Endgame. So
that was a good experience.
Yeah.
People were actually quiet during that. Yeah. So what do you think about crafts?
What do I think about what?
The crafts, like the craft awards, like the production design, the visual
I was like
effects,
craft services. I don't know.
The more technical.
Production design, I don't know. I mean, I feel like again that could be All Quiet on the Western Front. It feels like that was the All Quiet on the Western Front, I think, is going to kind of sweep a little bit as well. I don't think it'll be just Everything Everywhere, but I think people are kind of enamored with All Quiet on the Western Front. And I know that there's a big deal in terms of how they created like the landscape in it and stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that'll factor in here. I'm actually kind of surprised that Wakanda Forever didn't get nominated for production because I believe the original Black Panther won an Academy Award for this. And I would argue that the production in this one was better than the first one.
Yeah, this was I loved the villain in Wakanda Forever. Like I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
who that
Namor.
actor is.
He
Yeah, I
hasn't really
really
been in
loved him.
anything. That was it.
Yeah.
Like, and he was
Wow. No,
phenomenal. I
I
thought,
thought
yeah.
he really, for me, he was one of the things that I thought stood out. So I really liked that movie, but I thought it was a hair too long. Like I really thought they could have edited a bit of that movie out. And I thought some of the action scenes were a little bit long for me. And I think just that little bit of tightening up.
I feel like maybe the finale falls into that a little bit where they were like, we
Yeah,
have
that's what
to
I
kind of
mean. Yes.
check mark.
Yes.
And you're like, but
Yeah.
like, I get it. But at the same time, it was kind of like, but I don't know that you need. My mom was even like, I'm confused. I thought that people couldn't die. Why are they fighting them? And I was like,
Yeah.
Mom, I think they can die, but I think it's also just distraction because Shuri has to deal with the thing. And I was like, maybe there was a quicker way to do it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think Babylon could win for production. I really do. Because it is an outrageously large epic movie. It is like a 3-hour movie with like set after set after set piece. Like it is, I don't know. It's pretty beautiful and chaotic looking. So I feel like, yeah, maybe. I think it's gonna win like sound, All Quiet on the Western Front, like awards like that.
Oh, don't worry. The Batman got the nomination for that.
Oh yeah, it
For
did.
sound, yeah. The
The most
sound and
noticeable
visual
thing in that
effects. I'm like,
movie.
okay, and makeup so 3 Academy Awards. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so 3, but like the 3 that it
Not
probably
writing,
shouldn't have gotten. Like,
yeah.
no. I mean, and I will
It was a
forever say
perfect film
cinematography.
noir. It was a perfect film noir movie that worked so well. It was one of those where like form and function worked together so well. Is that not the definition of filmmaking? Like,
Yep.
it's mind blowing to me.
I think people who don't like Batman, I think people who don't like superhero movies would actually like the
I'm
Batman.
not even a big Batman fan. I am not. Batman is like probably one of my least favorite superheroes because I'm like, ugh, I just always one of those like, I get it. Ugh. Like, but you know what? Christopher Nolan got me, all those, and this one got me right back to. And I was like, it's such
Michael
a good
Keaton.
story. Yeah, Michael Keaton. Love Michael Keaton movies. Yeah.
Yeah. They've done it, well, for the most part, minus Ben Affleck. They've done it pretty well.
It's interesting. I think editing is going to be like anyone's game.
Yeah.
I never can nail down editing. I would argue that Elvis is going to win editing because Baz Luhrmann movies tend to, like Moulin Rouge won for editing, I believe. And
yes, I think it could, but I do think Everything Everywhere could.
If I were to pick one out of there, I would argue, for me, not having seen some of them, but the way Everything Everywhere was all strung together, I think that's one of those. Like,
I think that's what I would pick. I would, like, personally, I would get Everything Everywhere for best editing, even though the editing was like a lot for me to handle.
Frenetic,
it was put together in a way that I understood everything perfectly. And that could have been a really confusing movie if you had the wrong person putting it together.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that scene where it's just her and it's flashing between the hundreds of people. Yes. But I'm like, that's also one of those where like, usually they're like, well, that's not good editing if you know there's editing. And I'm like, oh my God.
No, I disagree with that, actually.
Yeah, I'm always like, that's like anybody who says like it has to be an invisible medium. I'm always like, no. I think Edgar Wright movies where the editing is part of the storytelling are phenomenal. I think that we don't give Scott Pilgrim enough credit for the editing.
And so I think like the Darren Aronofsky movies, like Requiem for a Dream, that editing will stick in my brain for the rest of my life. Yeah, absolutely.
So you think All Quiet on the Western Front's going to win for cinematography?
I do.
So it's weird choices in here.
Yeah, I do, because I think it took away, like there's not that much competition. No. Right? Like
Elvis, Empire Light,
no one's going to vote for Bardo.
What the hell is a Chronicle of a Handful of Truths? Yeah, Bardo. Oh, Bardo.
That's the Iñárritu movie. That's on Netflix.
Oh.
But it didn't get very good reviews. I didn't see that movie. I didn't see Empire of Light, but it's Roger Deakins, so like maybe, but I don't think so. Tar is beautifully shot, but there's no way it's gonna win. It would be All Quiet or Elvis, I think.
Do you think the Black Panther song is gonna win for best song? I feel like it could.
I think Not To is going to win.
That's what I've heard.
Did you see RRR?
No,
yeah.
I haven't. Yeah, I feel like I should, but
yeah, I feel like you should. And those movies, like people love that movie. And if this is the only thing you can give it an award for, I feel like people will do it. Plus, the song is amazing. That dance, like, I am excited for what this is going to look like on screen when they perform this song, because it is going to be like over the top. And so you haven't like seen it or heard it, right?
No, I didn't even. But I also didn't even think about it. Well, I think I saw like a couple seconds of it because it's like a Bollywood number, right?
It is, but it's like non-traditional the way the dancing is. It's like very, very sharp dancing, and it's very like muscular dancing, very masculine dancing. The sequence is awesome. And I walked into that movie thinking like, I'm not going to like this. And it was better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I definitely thought it was a fun movie. It never ended. It was 3 hours. Like, it just kept going and going and going. But that song is also a huge part of the movie. And I feel like a lot of songs are just like thrown into the end credits, and they're not really like actually a part of the movie.
Yeah. I agree.
Not to is like central to what is going on in that film. So I feel like I would actually be really disappointed if it didn't win. A lot of people are talking about the Lady Gaga also.
But that's also, it's like what you just said. That's an end credit song where it's, I feel like it's same way where it's like, what did I want to win? The song from Greatest Showman that didn't win. And you're like,
oh yeah. And that absolutely should have.
Yeah, I like that. I clicked away from you by accident. Yeah. So in terms of the score, I feel like again this is one of those where I'm like, Everything Everywhere All at Once has a great score, but John Williams is also like 90 years old.
Yeah. And Babylon is Justin Horowitz, and they love giving him awards also. And the All Quiet on the Western Front, it's like All Quiet on the Western Front is like the Jaws theme. It's like ba-da-da. It's like 3 notes, and you hear it over and over again, and it is so like part of what the heartbeat of that movie is. But I think it's going to be, I think Babylon. Not that I would pick Babylon. I actually wouldn't. But I think that's what's going to win.
Well, he's like known for his music stuff. I feel like that's so it's like,
and it's like the entire movie is original composition. Like almost it's like a 2.5 hour score.
It's weird because I thought All Quiet on the Western Front would have been a lock for international feature, but I think Argentina won the Golden Globe, didn't it?
It did, but I still think All Quiet is a lock.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It's so nominated for so many Academy Awards. Oh, I clicked away from all of us.
Things, but I want to see EO, which is like a movie about a donkey, from a donkey's perspective. I don't know. It just sounds so fun to me.
Yeah, that's cute.
It's on Criterion.
It's Criterion already? How do you even get chosen for Criterion?
No, it's on Criterion streaming. It's on like the streaming service.
God, I'm choking to death. I'm sorry.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just I have a there's these new things. They're like Hall's minis, but they're so small that like I inhaled one by accident and it hit me in the back of the throat, and I was like, oh God. Like I was like, oh, they're great because you can put them in a bag and carry them, but it's just like ugh. The pollen is insane in Florida right now. The allergies are through the roof.
We won't have allergies for like another 3 months over here.
I'm jealous.
What? Did you see any of the shorts?
No, I like that's the thing I always struggle with is the shorts. I feel like sometimes they're not always accessible, but I thought like Apple had them or something like that.
Yeah, Apple probably has all of them, but there were a lot that were on YouTube. Like The New Yorker took a lot of the shorts. And then there was La Pupille on Disney Plus, which was honestly so cute. Like such a sweet, sweet movie. Mm-hmm. Elephant Whisperers was really good. That was on Netflix. I like the shorts.
What is that?
You get in, you get out. Like.
Oh yeah, no, I like the idea because I also like to believe that if ever I would get into an Academy Award nomination area territory it would be from a short. Because that's always the thing.
Make that happen?
Short and sweet. You always think, I don't know, I couldn't get into grad school, so who knows? I probably can't do this. Like, someday, maybe. Someday.
I think all Hollywood is rejection. So it's just, we gotta keep doing it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I always think about that one horror movie that you told me about that one time with the kids and how they all represent. And I was like, that is the best idea for a script.
My high school.
And I just so
high.
desperately want you to write
Halloween
that.
High.
Yes, the high school one. Yes.
That's the one where I'm like, that's my crowning, where I'm like, that's my like secret
because
weapon
it feels
for a pitch.
like you. It feels like your personality. You know? It's like a conglomeration of everything that is your favorite. Yeah. You have to do it.
I know.
Maybe I'll text you and bother you about that because I never want to bother you about it. But
no, if we're talking real now, because I doubt anybody made it to the end of this video, it's like when I quit my job, I'm going to give myself 2 months, I think, of non-employment, and I want to write and do those things. And so that's on my like top to do thing.
Yeah, I absolutely think. I think that you having a break and being able to do something
Siri,
would be the most beneficial
Siri was listening and she just
you.
hold on, stop listening.
Oh, no,
not you, Alyssa.
You can't say anything. No, I know it's Siri. No, I know.
Okay, I can hear you again. Sorry,
she was like, you can't say anything. It's always listening.
And it just gave me recommendations about how to quit a job.
No, it did not.
Yeah, it was like, oh, here's some recommendations I found on the web, and it wouldn't stop talking, and I was like, stop. I could only hear her.
Chat GDP, and it'll tell you exactly what to say.
Yeah, but that's why I think, like, I want to take time and work on creative projects, and that is my, like, number one, like, pitch. I want to do this, so, but hopefully before at some point in my life, I'd like to be unemployed for a little while, like employed, you know what I mean? Like I want to do stuff, but it's like I want to take at least a beat.
Things for you.
I've had a job since I was like 14 years old and consistently, so that's the part where I'm like, I'd love a break. It's been 24 years. I would love to take a hot second for myself. So I'm not saying
you need to be a teacher because then you get the summer and you can recharge and you do all these creative things.
Well, that's why I applied for a grad school, and they didn't want anything to do with me. So, only one grad school though. So that's my fault.
I was gonna say you gotta apply somewhere else because.
I know. Could
you imagine if you had the job like where you were teaching high school students about film?
Oh, I would. I want to do college because then like I can set them free in the world and not worry about as much stuff. Yeah. So being like, just come to me and like
you're
leave.
Actually right.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you are right. That's the better plan.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope. Yeah. I'm worried now because somebody in the chat just said, "When you quit your job, what?" And I was like, in my dreamland, when I quit my job, like I don't want to work at my job forever. Yeah.
You need the La La Land moment where you do your dream, the Fabelman moment where you do the thing you were meant to do, and not just the thing you need to do to keep surviving.
Exactly. And so but also I was writing a book too. I like started an outline for a book for like I was reading all those Goosebump books, and I was like, this is when I was still exercising too, and I was like, I was running one day and I was like, if I were to write a Goosebumps book, what would it be about? And so like I started in my brain like talking to myself while I was running, and then I kept going and kept going and kept going. And I was like, oh, you know what? I should write this down. And I started writing it down. And I wrote like a 15-page outline for a Goosebump book that is only 110 pages. And I was like, okay, I think this is pretty much the book. And so I'm like, okay, well, I want to get back mentally into that. God, now I'm hiccuping. But I'm going to start rereading my Goosebump books again, and I think that's going to be where I like start to feel that, where I was like, okay, I've got that creative energy again. Let's do it, because I just am like, I think it was just about like a haunted like item, and it was kind of about how fear manifests itself, sort of a thing, and like, so it was like I took things I knew, like people and places, and I kind of wrote them, and I was like, what would be cool for you, and I did that, and I was like, okay. So I like have this idea about these kids, and they're like, it's like a weekend at they're staying at their grandparents' house, and it's like a snowstorm, and like all these like scary things come to life, and like, so we'll see. And then I'll adapt that, and someday that'll be, it won't be nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay because the Academy will still hate horror movies by then, so, you know.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
But it will still be adapted. I would love to read the story and the outline at some point.
Yeah, I'll send it to you because I did write it all out, and I think I sent it to Kim because she was the only one where I was like, but she's like, Kim's a very nonfiction writer, and so
and
she was very much
only like fiction.
Okay, because she's the other way where I don't think she likes fiction, and so she was kind of like, okay, well, do what you like, and I was like, well, that's great feedback, like, but I was like, yeah, it's like a whole thing, so that's what I'm like, but so just I got a couple things. I got that movie. I have an animated movie that I was thinking about too, where it was like, where it was, you know, the animated. It was the Chubby Unicorn was what it was called, and it was about a rhino that's trying to figure out where he belongs in terms of like people, like it was a kind of a commentary on the gay community in terms of like everybody, you know, bears and bulls and wolves and otters and whatever, and it was kind of like, where does a rhino fit into that, you know, and but so it would be like animated, you know, sort of like Zootopia thing, but
I love that.
Yeah, I got some things, some ideas. Nobody who watches this video steal those ideas. But yeah. Well, thanks, Alyssa, for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this was fun. We should probably do a movie chat, I think, more often. We should probably could do this like once a month or something like that. It would be fun.
Yeah, it's. I'll say this: I like talking to an adult about movies and not like a bunch of 17.
We should do it whenever there's one where that like comes along and we get like really into it. Like we're like, okay, we got to talk about this. Like, do you watch John Wick movies?
I love John. You know, I love Keanu.
Yeah,
you know, I love Keanu. Like,
that's why I was like, I cannot wait for John Wick 4. So that's where I'm like,
I know. And they just put all the movies on like Paramount or one of those. So I'm going to go back and watch like 1 to 3, done, watch the new movie. It's going to be great.
Yeah, those are good. And I feel like there's
Guardians would be a good one to do. Like,
for sure. I did a whole list of like stuff that was coming out, and it's like pretty stacked from now until like July pretty much. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interesting ones. I feel like there's another horror movie. Oh, it's Evil Dead Rise. I was like, what's the other really gross horror movie?
Yeah, that looked scary. That trailer was like, wow, I did not expect this to be so just like purely horror based. That one shot with mom?
Yeah, mommy's with the maggots now. I'm like, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want it. I'm not going to do well in that movie. I don't think body horror is my like hardest thing to get through. Theater. Yeah, that's a tough one.
I saw Us in the theater. Woo.
I did too.
That was
I yelled at somebody in that theater. Actually, though, I was like, "Can you shut the F up? I'm watching this movie." Oh. Like, oh, excuse me. It was one of those
moments.
And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, sorry. Yeah. Also, sorry. I'm the white guy who yelled at everybody in the movie. You know, the other time I was the white guy who yelled at everybody in the movie theater. 12 Years a Slave. And I did shh, and I heard somebody go, who is he shushing? And I was like, get me out of this movie theater right now. I was like, it was impulsive, and I felt bad. And I was just like, okay, I need to start being a little more aware.
I did curse at the Batman, so I was that person. I was that person who was just cursing at children, so.
Yeah, but you know what? When I went to see Spider-Man No Way Home, there were literally kids running up and down the theater in a square, and like to the point, like got up, told the people they didn't do anything, and I was like I was just like, hey, come stand in the theater and watch them yell. They're yelling at the screen. They're talking like to the point where like a guy got up and was like, hey guys, come on, cut it out. We're all here watching this movie. Full movie theater here. Like, F off, kids. I'm like, what money do you have
the money to pay to see the movie? Like
exactly.
You can talk for free anywhere. That is always like, go do something and talk for free. You don't need to walk into a dark room to start talking.
I always, I said it last night when I was talking about my Scream thing because there were people next to me talking the whole movie. Do you think that if they did like a survey, the people who talk in movies would say they talk in movies, or do you think they don't know they're talking in movies? Like, or do you think they're like, you know what I mean?
I do think they, all right. So I think because I'm just around teenagers all the time, they know they talk in movies. Like they'll be like, you would never want to watch a movie with me. But I think adults, and I definitely think older people don't realize that they're talking throughout the entire movie. Also, don't you think there should be a movie theater where you choose, like there are strictly silent theaters where you can choose to see like The Quiet Place and pay this amount of money to go in this theater. But if you talk, you're out. Like you're kicked out.
Are you talking about an Alamo Draft House?
See, I will see in New York. that is not that does not.
We don't have them here either. They teased us. They were going to build one, and then they went bankrupt during the pandemic, and now they're like thriving again. But they're like, no, we don't like Orlando. And I was like, yeah, you and me both. Yeah. So, but when I visit my friend in Austin, I've gone to an Alamo Draft House twice now, and I was just like, oh, I'm ready with my piece of paper and pencil to be like, this person won't shut up.
Austin's the best city, isn't it?
Oh, it's so. It was absolutely not anything like I expected in terms of, because it's like in Texas, and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. But it was the most gay-friendly, like, be yourself place I've ever been in my whole life. It was insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like a party. You're like in the streets, and everyone's out, and everyone's having a good time.
Yeah.
And there's music everywhere. And
yeah.
It
was crazy.
No one cares. It's super accepting. Like, it's a wonderful city.
Renfield.
Oh, yes.
I was like, I feel like that's a good one. Yes, please. I'm looking at my list.
Yes,
like,
please.
I'm like, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Renfield, I want to see Guardians. Creed 3 also. Did you see that?
I haven't seen Creed 1 or 2. So.
Oh. But see, I like me a boxing movie.
Michael B. Jordan. I like a baseball movie if I'm picking a sport, which is surprising. People are always like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah, I used to play baseball. I like baseball. But the Michael B. Jordan and...
Yes, please.
It's too much. I was like, it's too much heat.
Yes, please.
I'll be sweating the whole time. Like, where's my
fan?
I'm
just like, yes, please, to both.
Yeah.
So excited.
It's funny.
And Tessa Thompson. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, that was the other, like, I was just like, what? This movie is stacked with attractive people. I can't handle it.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, so we have a lot. We have a lot of things to
We have a lot. So we'll have to do another one of these. I mean, obviously, that's a little less involved. But like, thank you everybody who tuned in and watched this, either live or later at the date or anything like that. Thank you very much. We're looking forward. The Oscars are on this Sunday, March 12th. I believe they're airing on ABC. I forget what time they start. It's usually like 8 p.m., right?
Yeah, about 8.
Because I think like red carpet starts like earlier than that, because it's at least like I turn it on at like 7, and then it's like yeah. And I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out. So thank you, Alyssa, for joining me. Thank you everybody for watching, and I guess Alyssa and I will see you again soon, hopefully.
Bye.